Hello, 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 everyone, and welcome to another episode of Morning Nonsense. I hope you're all doing fantastic. We're having a wonderful day, as always. As always, have all sorts of things going on today. But if you were here yesterday, in our coverage, my coverage of the second attempt of our coverage of Gotham High, first coverage was interrupted by low internet gas. Chat, very low internet gas, very low. We had to switch to internet diesel, still didn't work, and we had to cut it early last time on Saturday. And then when yesterday we tried it again, I got through most of it. However, the bots were hungry, and someone threw some bait on us, and the bots came to go devour my stream. However, it didn't work out quite as they had in mind because I fought, I fought the law, and we won. So the old stream from yesterday is up on the channel. It is in the playlist. It is in the morning nonsense playlist. It just stops abruptly towards the end because that's when the bots decide to attack. But it is up there. It is up there. So we got it back. We got it back almost immediately. I think because I worded like is this video is covering a creative work, going over narrative structure, characterization, etc. And that sounds a lot better than we're just tearing it to pieces. But we not only did I get it back, chat. It was approved for monetization because the song I used at the beginning of that one wasn't it's licensed. I licensed it to because one of the songs I licensed to help the independent creators. So not only was it approved, it was eventually monetized. Now, upon the streams being staying up, I was considering doing what Mahler does, and then moving stream. I put hosting streams on this channel, and then moving it to my first edition channel, and having morning nonsense over there, but made public, so you don't have to go to a certain playlist. You can just go over there and find all the episodes. I think that might work out a little bit better. We'll see what happens. But welcome, welcome, welcome. Hope you're having a fantastic day. Hope you're staying safe during this troublesome time, during this trying time. As Frank Reynolds from Always Sunny like to say, if you want to, hopefully please have an egg in this trying time. Eggs always make you feel better, according to Frank Reynolds anyway. But today I pulled up a lot of nonsense because we've been covering because we of course we didn't do any morning nonsense on Sunday, and we spent 2 days covering Gotham High, which means that the nonsense has really piled up. Chat has really has really piled up. But I wanted to start off with something about considering what happened yesterday, something with copyright. But this stuff keeps coming in, so here's something else. I wanted to remind you of this video because I think it's pretty funny. I think it's pretty funny. It goes to show you exactly why you should never ever listen to SJWs. It shows you exactly why. Never ever listen to NPCs on business, on terms of business. Just do what you want. So here is Sean Gordon Murphy. I know we covered this a few episodes ago. A few episodes ago. Let me see if I can put this up. And that should be it. There it is. So I know we covered this a few episodes ago, but we didn't. If you weren't here or if you've forgotten, which is a possibility. This is Sean Gordon Murphy. This is one of the top-selling Batman artists, Batman writers currently. He is the creator of the White Knight. He's going to have his own Batman White Knight. He's going to have his own Murphy verse, and he was thinking because of all these fantastic crowdfunding campaigns for comics that he would open one himself. But of course, seeing potential success and potential humiliation in the face of Sean Gordon Murphy's success, all of his so-called friends, which who are all SJWs and self-serving egotists, came together and said, "Well, it's not a really good look right now because we're in the middle of a pandemic. Probably shouldn't do that because it's really bad look. It's really bad look, John Gordon Murphy. You should listen to us. I mean, we brought the entire the Titanic of the comic book industry to its knees in just a few short years. And now, because we shut our doors for a few weeks, we're gone. It's crumbled into dust. You should listen to us, Sean Gordon Murphy. We know exactly how to do business." And Sean Gordon Murphy, for some reason, decided to listen to them. And so he made this video saying, "Hey, fans, I'm thinking about doing a Kickstarter, but I'm not really sure if I should because it might be a bad idea, but told it's a bad optics. However, uh, while he was doing this, okay, so Sean Gordon Murphy is basically the rundown of his whole video is, yeah, I don't know if I should do this or not, and I've been told that's bad optics, and I've been told I shouldn't do that. I shouldn't be making money while people are suffering during this hard time. And I went over every one of those points when I covered it, essentially boiling down to, people need to make money. It's important for you to get enough money to complete your project and fulfill your promises. And it's very, very important to realize that there was such a time called the Great Depression where, as opposed to now where people can't find toilet paper and bread, they couldn't afford toilet paper and bread during the Great Depression. And they were still buying books. They were still buying pulp novelizations because people need it. People need stories. Stories are not a luxury. Comic books and novels might be. Stories, however, are not. Stories are necessary. And so this is why you have people who are scrounging for pennies back then, still spending those pennies they did have on food and books and stories, because people do, especially during a trying time like this, especially during a pandemic. You need people who you need someone to create things that people can buy to escape from, escapist fiction, escapist fantasy. And it would be perfect, not an unideal time, but an ideal time, not just for you, but for people who want to buy the product you want to buy. Also, there's a fact that if I don't want to buy it, I won't. If I don't want to back it, I won't. If I can't afford it, I definitely won't. So his whole video is him second guessing himself. It's clearly clear that he knows is the right thing to do is to start this thing, but those little sharks, those little weasels he works with in the comic book industry, they got into his head and had him second guessing himself. So I just wanted to show you that as a reminder for this next thing. Okay, it's gonna be. I think you might find this interesting. So let's see here. Lord Captain Commander Dunn of the Queen's Guard. Good morning, buddy. Good morning to you, chat. Good morning. Uh, Fulcrum Shift. His posture doesn't seem very engaged. Well, he seems very defensive. He seems very defensive because by the way, there's some lore on this. Sean Gordon Murphy once publicly announced that he was partnering with another creator called Douglas TenNapel, aka Doug TenNapel, the guy who creates Earthworm Jim. And Doug TenNapel has some very, we'll say, vocally negative views of the homosexual community, where he doesn't believe in gay marriage and all that stuff, which makes him paint him as a bigot in the eyes of, well, pretty much anyone, but mainly in the eyes of the SJWs. And in their eyes, working with someone with views they don't approve of automatically makes you a terrible, evil person. And so when Sean Gordon Murphy, who is a fan of Earthworm Jim, by the way, made a deal with Doug TenNapel, they did a cover exchange. They did a cover exchange, and Sean Gordon Murphy is used to fan feedback and sometimes even fan blowback, and he was even used to some minor nitpicks from SJWs here and there without giving in. He never would turn on the fans or anything like that. He never turned on his fans. What did happen, however, was that when it was announced that he was working with Doug TenNapel, the SJWs really surged, and he was unprepared for the huge wave of social justice feedback from the NPC hate mob that he kind of didn't know what to do, and he kind of crumbled. It's very because I don't blame him. I don't blame him at all, because if you are not prepared, if never experienced or never realized how much these weirdos can surge at you when they're whipped up into a frenzy. It can be very daunting, it can be very disheartening, but very, very scary, because it seems like you did the one thing in the world that made everyone angry. It seems like it feels as if you truly upset the entire world, because they're very loud, they're very boisterous, very shrill, and they just come at you en masse. So Sean Gordon was browbeaten into cutting off that deal with Doug TenNapel, and that was essentially it. That was essentially it. So ever since then, Sean Gordon Murphy has been very, very careful not to let that happen again. He's pretty much kind of stepping in line. However, which he's not really, you can't really contain him. So he knows in his heart of hearts. You watch this video, he knows in his heart of hearts that it doesn't matter what they think. That it's what he wants to do, and it's what his fans want him to do. So that's how it ended up. So that's why he seems like defensive. He's taking a defensive posture here, and why he's made this video in the first place. Because he has his own instincts, which are all good, and the only stuff that's really nagging at him are the words of his quote unquote SJW friends. Not quote SJW. They are SJWs, but quote his friends because they're not really his friends. Someone who tells you it's not a good look right now to make money to follow a passion project of yours is probably not your friend. They're probably self-serving in that description of theirs. Lucky Jinx, same as before. Lessons in good storytelling with our professor, Literature Devil. Thank you very much. Appreciate that. Let's see here. Dublinos Nico. What are we talking about today? Oh, so many things, Chad. So many things. But I think you'll enjoy it. Gotta have a good roster of it. We definitely will not get through it. Even if we do a 3.5 hour show, I'm pretty sure we won't get through all of it. It's so much stuff. It's so much stuff. It's kind of like I don't know what it is, but it's kind of like if you let garbage pile up, and it just piles up and piles up, and it piles up so quickly that if you glance away for even a moment, it just overwhelms you. uh, Margot De Paulo, Guilt by Association, did this with Peter Simeti too. Oh, they did this to Peter Simeti horrifically. It was horrible for him. He almost committed suicide over that. He Because it's a very scary thing. So Peter Simeti was almost driven to suicide from the time he was bombarded with Twitter hate mobs. He was unprepared for it. He's a very nice guy. Sheldon Gordon Murphy was so it's not too surprising. It's very understanding to me why Sheldon Gordon Murphy would buckle under that huge surge because it's not just Twitter mob. It's like the media. It's they get all the media whipped up into a frenzy. It's blogs. You got bloggers just getting up in the morning and drinking their soy latte or whatever, and then writing uh, article after article on how much a terrible person you are. It can be really daunting, but really really disheartening. So it's I don't blame Sean Gordon Murphy for buckling underneath the pressure. I mean, it is disappointing, but I don't blame him. And Peter Simeti was almost committed suicide over this huge surge of weirdos just coming after him. Because that's what they want you to do. The end game is that they want you to kill yourself. The end game is that they want you to commit suicide because you didn't like you disagreed with their views on things. You don't hate the right people or whatever. But this video is not what I want to cover. I just wanted to start off with this because I wanted to show you how useless it is and how much of a loss you're taking by even listening to these people. So let me pull this up. So, Sean Gordon Murphy was sitting in his chair and asking his fans what the answers to what he already knows, to questions he already knows. Another legend, a comic book legend, Todd McFarlane, the guy who made Spawn, he launched a toy. He launched a newly revamped figure of Spawn. And he did so, I believe, less than a week ago now, about 6 days ago. And during this 6 days ago, still during the time of the pandemic, chat. Still during the time of the pandemic. What does that say there, chat? This is how much this is how much he has raised since then. 1,322,651. Does that look like people are upset with him? Does this look a bad look to you? So while Sean Gordon Murphy was questioning himself and making videos on whether or not he should do one of these crowdfunding projects, Todd McFarlane just did it. He didn't listen to any of his friends or whatever. He didn't say, "Oh, it must be a bad look right now." He just did it because he has a good product that he thinks people will like. He has a good product that he thinks his fans will enjoy. He has so many good perks. He made a very valuable, a brand new iteration, several iterations. He has like I think 2 or 3 different iterations of this toy, of this product, and to show you, Todd McFarlane is one of the good ones. He's a legend in comics, yes, but he's also a guy. He's also a creator who remained loyal to his fans. He never bashed his fans. He never insulted you for disagreeing with him. He never called you an istophobe or a Nazi on Twitter. He was a good guy. He respected his fans. He's never turned on them. And this is how he's rewarded. He is respectful. And he said, "Hey, Comicsgate, I'm pretty sure you live this too." Todd McFarlane may not have declared himself Comicsgate, but he does share the principles. Respect the customer and give them value over moral judgments. And this is what happened. This is what occurred. During a time of pandemic, during a time when they said it was a bad look right now, and during a time when everything else is falling apart due to the pandemic, totally due to the pandemic, and not due to the comic book professionals' horrific behavior online for years, he has made over $1.3 million in a week. This blows even Ethan Van Sciver out of the water. This is a monumentous success, and it goes to show how wrong SJWs are. The people who insult you on Twitter, the people who drive you away, people who say, "If you don't like my politics, don't buy my book." Those sorts of people who want to who care about good optics during a pandemic or something, who want to stop you from making money, stop you from releasing a product that you know your fans will enjoy. This is the result of you defying these people. Okay, if you listen to these people, you get things like The Last Jedi, which destroys the entire Titanic franchise. If you don't listen to these people and you openly defy these people, you get $1.3 million in a week. Oh, this for a few. It's for total transparency, chat. I have not backed this thing because not because I didn't like it, not because I don't like Todd McFarlane, because I'm not a toy collector. I don't know what I would do with this thing. So I myself didn't back it. If you want to back it, go ahead. It looks high quality. It looks very interesting. If you're interested in Spawn, or if you like these toys and everything like that, I would suggest that you back it. However, I just want to let you know I myself did not, because I don't know what to do. I wouldn't know what to do with this thing. I'm not a toy person. Personally, personally, I'm not a toy person, but it is very good. I'll show you the video because Todd McFarlane just exudes charm, because he doesn't need he's talented enough where he doesn't need social justice. He's talented enough where he doesn't need to play off of his race or play woke or anything like that. Because to me, from what I've seen empirically, being woke is for people who are not very talented or don't want to put in the work, but mainly people who lack talent. Those are the people who usually go woke. Let's see here. Yes, I'm showing audio, so it should work. Let's go ahead and I'm not sure if it'll play on here anymore. I just stopped. There we go.
Hey everybody, this is Todd McFarlane. I used to work for Marvel and DC comic books. I did comic books, did a little bit of Batman, did a little bit of Hulk, co-created Venom, and then sort of made my career on Spider-Man. But after that, a handful of us started a new company, and this was the character I created, Spawn. It's now been running for over 300 issues. We now own a Guinness Book of World Record for the longest running creator-owned book. But if some of you remember, back in 1994, I started a toy company. In 1995, my first toy came out. This is what it looked like right here, right? You're looking at some of the packaging. This is one of the original pieces here from 1995. But now what we're going to do is our very first Kickstarter. Why? Because the stores we used to sell to way back then, Babbage's, Tower Records, all those ones that we used to sell to, KB Toys, all those have gone out of business. It's getting more and more difficult to sell a toy direct to the stores and only give them one at a time. I'm going to now give you the toys that they won't put on the shelf, and we're going to sell them to you exactly as we think that they should be. Here's what we have for you with our very first Kickstarter. I basically went out and I got the license for the toy because I own.
Okay, Jay, what's the first thing you notice here? That's excellent about this video. So we're only what, a minute 14 seconds in, and he says, "I'm Todd McFarlane. Here, you might know me from these things. Here's the product. Here's what you're going to be buying. Here's what you're going to be backing. Here's what you'll be getting. Here's what you remember. Here's the toy and the packaging. Here's what you'll be getting. We have some extra good stuff going on." Okay, this is not an SJW NPC promo. Because an SJW NPC promo would say, "Hello, I am this creator you've never heard of. Now, this is my product that I'm wanting to push on you. I would like you to back because it is a product about how strong XYZ minority is, or the instantly going into browbeating you morally. Is browbeating morally. Uh, so they talk about ethics and morals and how they're going to break whatever, go into entertainment, and how it's breaking some sort of new ground with this is going to be the first XYZ to be represented in XYZ format, uh, and representation and all that stuff. uh Todd McFarlane just comes out and said, "Hey, here's Spawn. I'm Todd McFarlane. I create Spawn. Here's Spawn toys, and it's going to be awesome. Go ahead and back me. There's no representation nonsense, no diversity nonsense. No. Hey, we're going to make Spawn toys, but now he's going to be trans, or he's going to be he's going to be in a wheelchair now, or something. None of that. None of that. He knows that Spawn already works. Okay, he knows people love Spawn, and he knows that people know his name. So he's giving you not what he want, not this new age stuff. He's giving you what exactly you want to have. He's giving you exactly what you want to have, chat. He knows what his audience wants, and he's not so trying to subvert your expectations. He's giving you exactly what you want to have. And it's fantastic. It's exactly how you should run it.
Spawn, and we're going to basically come out here and do a digitally remastered version. So what is that going to look like? First off, here's sort of the prototype of what the sculpt's going to look like. It's going to be way bigger than the original. If you remember, the original was this size. We now do our toys at 7 inches, so we're going to do a digitally remastered, but it's going to be bigger. Not only that, we're going to put it in super sexy packaging. Although the packaging will be reminiscent of what you saw in 1995, I'm going to do a brand new artwork on this comic book. You're going to get a comic book, you're going to get the toy, and if you want, we're going to talk about later, you can get an autograph on it. But how?
See, he goes right into what you can get, right into what you can have, what you can get, what you can expect to, what kind of perks you can get when you back it, depending on what level. It's fantastic. There's no more no moral grandstanding. No, this is the first ever XYZ superhero toy or something like that. No, none of those firsts, because he doesn't need firsts. He doesn't need social justice to prop him up so that he can guilt people into buying his product. He has a quality product and he knows it. He has a quality product people love and he knows it. It's fantastic. So I just want to show you that while Sean Gordon Murphy was questioning his audience about fishing for answers, he already knew. He has questions, and then he's fishing for answers. He knew the whatever. He already knew in his heart of hearts. But if he wants to open up a crowdfunding campaign, he should, and he shouldn't listen to SJW weirdos. But he made that, and he instead of launching, he made a video and second guess himself. Todd McFarlane was over here saying, "I'm going to launch a Spawn toy," and he made $1.3 million in a week. This campaign still has 24 days to go. He ran a 30-day campaign. So it goes to show you. I just wanted to show you that, chat. Never ever listen to social justice warriors. Never ever listen to NPCs. All they know how to do is lose. If they knew how to win, they wouldn't be NPCs and they wouldn't be social justice warriors. Because they just are, because they need something to prop them up, because they are devoid of talent or devoid of agency or devoid of anything like drive or ambition. They just want free stuff. They just want free stuff, chat. They want free fame and fortune. That's why they want to. That's why they guilt people into giving them top tier A grade characters that already have an established fan base. So anyway, chat. Anyway, I have this article here that's I think you might find hilarious. Now, this is an article that came out on the 7th of April, but I still think it might be hilarious to go over because it's concerning copyright strikes, and it's really funny on how this all worked out. And it's really funny considering how gung ho some of these companies are in striking down channels where they even have a whiff of their products somewhere inside the video. So let's check this out. And here we go. Here we go. So, Toei launches Toei Toku, Tokusatsu World Official YouTube channel, removed immediately for copyright strikes. So, what is essentially Toei Animation, which is the company that owns like Dragon Ball Z and a couple other properties, but they're the Japanese company that owns these a lot of these shows. I think they also own My Hero Academia. I think they launched a YouTube channel to show off their shows, and Toei immediately copyright strike that channel into oblivion for hosting their shows. It was an official channel too. It was as if Disney launched Disney Plus, and then if Disney Plus was stricken down by Disney for copyright infringement. Let's see here. Ginger Sleep. I don't get Spawn. Unlike every other superhero, there's nothing iconic beyond the cape. Who are his enemies? His allies? What's the story? Who knows? I never got into. I personally never got into Spawn, but I know Spawn has a huge following, because it's a little darker than what you might expect. Let's see here. The Dubious Nico. Remember when people tried to get Eminem canceled for songs he wrote decades ago? Yeah. That's They're always trying to cancel you. They're always trying to find some way to cancel you. They're your allies as long as you walk lockstep with them. But if they find any reason to cancel you, they will. That's all they're about. They're about cancellation and ruining of people. Let's see. So, so here we go. So Toei launches Toei Tokusatsu World Official YouTube channel removed immediately for copyright strikes. Within hours of Toei launching a new channel for free featuring English sub episodes of classic Tokusatsu shows, YouTube deleted the entire channel due to an abundance of self-copyright strikes against the channel's content. On April 6th, Toei began to upload official licensed episodes of classic Tokusatsu Japanese superhero shows that feature an extensive use of special effects, such as costume miniatures and pyrotechnics. Series of Toei Tokusatsu World Official YouTube channel. So basically, it showed some like a Sentai, like a Super Sentai shows, like Power Rangers or something. I think they own Power Rangers too. Some of the series included Kakair, Inazumon, and Magical Girl Chukana. There we go, Chukana. However, within hours of these episodes being uploaded, the entire channel was removed, with an alert noting that this action was taken due to multiple third-party claims of copyright infringement regarding material the user posted. So here it is. Toei killed their own channel. Toei killed their own channel with their copyright strikes. Upon hearing the channel's deletion, some users on Twitter indulged in what they saw as a small bit of karmic payback for Toei's rampant use of YouTube's copyright system against content creators. How does it feel to be on the receiving end of it? Try uploading 10 seconds of Dragon Ball Z and see what happens. Here's Anime America. I claimed my entire video of Sailor Moon versus Crystal, even claiming my own copyrighted character. I beat them and had the strike taken away, but this seriously brightens my morning. because they took down their own channel chat. They're so gung ho about getting this in. They're so gung ho about copyright striking people that they they copyright this they struck their own channel into oblivion. Jingzatsu Marai says this doesn't prove how if this doesn't prove how broken the copyright system is, I don't know what. I don't know what will. Now they know what it's like to be Team 4-Star, always getting stricken down. Team 4-Star did the Dragon Ball Z abridged. The channel has since been restored with the first two episodes of multi-series now available for streaming, with more series slated to be added over the coming weeks. What do you make of Toei's channel going down? I think it's hilarious. Reminds me of what happened yesterday when they took down my channel. We took down my coverage of Gotham High for no reason. But we won, chat. We ended up winning. Zakuya, on the Tokusatsu side, they own Kamen Rider and Super Sentai, which is essentially the DC and Marvel of Tokusatsu. You know, minus the general incompetence. I don't think they can actually afford to be incompetent in Japan. They can afford to be incompetent over here because you have weirdos who say, "Oh, it's okay if you lost us thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars. You have the right politics, so you can stay." As Stony Mick, they should sue themselves for fraudulent claims. That'd be an interesting court case. Very interesting, I think. But there's the article. I thought that was really funny to cover, especially after yesterday. These companies are so adamant about taking down any video on YouTube that even touches their shows, and then they go around and they make their own official YouTube channel that hosts their shows, and then they strike it into oblivion because it hosts their shows. Oh, fantastic. Fantastic. I love how everyone was just getting on their case and delighting in that fact. But here's the next part. Here's the most ironic part. Here's one of the most ironic uh, articles I found. I think you might find this hilarious. So let's check this out. Let's check this out, chat. Let me see. HK47 for life. Thank you very much for the 2. Appreciate that. Striking your own channel. That's not a good look. That's not a good look right now. Not during a pandemic or anything like that. They're so rabid on this stuff. We're so rabid on the copyright strike button. That they went ahead and just destroyed their own channel. But here we go, chat. Here we go. So Jar Jar Binks actor Ahmed best explains what Disney's iteration of Star Wars is missing. So Jar Jar Binks has to come out of the woodwork and tell Disney how bad their movies are, what kind of mistakes they're making. Okay, here's what you're doing wrong, Disney. So let's see here. Our Master DX, Darth Jar Jar. Yes, Darth Jar Jar indeed. Darth Jar Jar indeed. So I just like how everyone is just hammering on Disney because people say people love Disney Star Wars, but they're terrible. They're terrible movies. They're all poorly made. So Jar Jar Binks actor comes out and explains to us what Disney's iteration of Star Wars is missing. A Star Wars actor Ahmed Best, who played Jar Jar Binks in the prequel trilogy, will now play Jedi Master in an upcoming Jedi Temple Challenge show in Disney Plus. Jedi Temple Challenge show? Is that a game show? Discussed these current struggles of the Star Wars and specifically pointed out one of the biggest parts of Star Wars that is missing in Disney's sequel films. So let's see what they have here. See what they have here. If it's not good, we'll move on. Let's see here. Best appeared on Jamie Strangleroom's YouTube channel, where he discussed the upcoming Jedi Temple Challenge show, his role as Jar Jar Binks, and even rumors surrounding the Obi-Wan Kenobi series. When asked about how Jedi Temple Challenge, why is it going to be called Jedi Temple Challenge? It sounds like the Legend of the Hidden Temple or something, like one of those game shows for kids or something. I wonder what that show is going to be about. If it's going to be one of those game shows, this is going to be terrible. I don't have very much faith in a Jedi Star Wars game show, so I hope it's not going to be that.
I sense a plot to destroy the Jedi.
Mace Windu is one of the most recognizable Jedi in the Star Wars universe. The character first debuted in Star Wars Episode 1, The Phantom Menace, as an influential member of the Jedi High Council during the waning years of the Galactic Republic. But before he became a Jedi Master and member of the Jedi High Council, he was a youngling and Padawan like other Jedi. Windu was born on the planet Harun Kal, and was soon sent off to be trained as a Jedi due to his affinity with the Force. As a youngling, he learned to construct his lightsaber under the guidance of Professor Huyang, After constructing his amethyst-colored lightsaber, Windu would ascend to the rank of Padawan and train under Jedi Master Cecil and Mir. In one mission, Mir and Windu...
By the way, chat, this stream is brought to you by Raid Hidden Temple. Raid Shadow Legends, the most ambitious project of the year. Raid Shadow Legends is always going to be described as the most ambitious project of the year. It's not all that ambitious, chat. I played it before. It's not that ambitious. Unless you mean how blatantly they ask you for money for the most simple things. Well, then, yeah, that's pretty ambitious. Let's see here. GBOF Sid says, "What are your thoughts on dark humor?" Well, I like dark humor a lot. Dark humor is fantastic, especially if it's done extremely well. Let's go ahead and continue.
Windu tracked down a Jedi heretic named Druze, who was exploiting the people of the planet Mathas, convincing them to hand over all their possessions with the promise of fulfilling their desires and wishes. Windu and Mir apprehend Druze and decide to bring him before a court of law to face justice. Before the onset of the Clone Wars, Windu led a team of Jedi to the planet Usulon in the...
Anyway, let's see what else he has to say here. So, when asked about how Jedi Temple Challenge is geared towards introducing kids into the Star Wars universe, Best detailed some of the current struggles of the Star Wars universe. Best explains, a big deal for me was to be able to give kids something to do. And this is the thing that Star Wars, I think, is falling short of now. There really isn't very much to believe in anymore. Oh, yes. Yes, not all heroes wear capes, chat. Not all heroes wear capes. He's just telling the exact truth that we all know. He's telling us what we all know already, chat. But what few people in his position are brave enough to say. But he just said it. Disney Star Wars gives us a plate full of nothing. And as he says, there really isn't very much to believe in anymore. You used to be able to believe in Luke and the Jedi, but they purposely destroyed Luke and the Jedi and they replaced them with nothing. They replaced them with shallow, meaningless characters. And it's he's right. He's right on the money here. Right on the money, chat. He adds, the lack of faith is really the thing I find to be missing. We don't talk about the Force anymore in Star Wars movies. We are really about lineage and legacy and lying and technology. How is it that the guy who played Jar Jar Binks knows Star Wars infinitely better than Rian Johnson and J.J. Abrams and the whole entirety of the Disney era of Lucasfilm? How is that possible? How is that? You would think you'd be getting this wisdom from Luke Skywalker, from Mark Hamill. You think that you'd be getting this wisdom from anyone else that you would know from the movies, but you don't. The guy who plays Jar Jar Binks is coming out of the woodwork to tell us the truth, exactly why we do not feel so close to Disney Star Wars. It's the fact that they do not talk about the Force. They got rid of the mysticism. They got rid of the wonder and the positivity and what connected us to the franchise in the first place. And as he says, there really isn't very much to believe in anymore. We're all about lineage and legacy and lying and technology. That's it. And they don't have that anymore. They purposely erased legacy. They purposely erased all of this lineage. They got rid of it all. They ruined all the good stuff of Star Wars for their own personal egos and for politics and for subverting your expectations. I see Dubious Nico. Jar Jar is taking on Disney and winning. We live in the best timeline. Oh, we sure do, chat. We sure do. Let's see here. Bless continues. But the thing that makes Star Wars work was the Force. There were two sides, the light side and the dark side. But we all believe in the Force. It's not this thing that you have to cultivate. It's not this thing that you have to have faith in and believe in. And that's what worked in the Lucasverse when it came to Star Wars. There's Jar Jar right there. This guy is Jar Jar is schooling you, Disney, on what Star Wars is about. So Jedi Temple Challenge, it brings back this idea that we all have levels of connection to the Force. And you can really grow your connection to the Force, and it can become stronger through these trials at this temple. And he says, he then points out to Empire Strikes Back. He then points to Empire Strikes Back and Luke's training with Yoda to deepen his connection with the Force. All of those things that Yoda did with Luke Skywalker on Dagobah in the swamp, this is where it was first. This is where it was first. Okay, you got to get good here, and I dig that. I like that. It's something that I think would be wonderful. So his even more blatantly in their faces, he's saying, "Get good. You have to get good with the Force. Just because you're not good with it now doesn't mean you can't do it. You have to work though. You have to overcome these challenges, chat. You have to overcome these challenges." Which is another spitting in the face of Ryan Johnson and his SW ilk. Let's see here. I think would be wonderful for kids because now there's a path to this thing. It's a path to this thing. Now you have a line to get to becoming a strong Jedi. Now there are actual steps you can take to being a strong Jedi. It gives you belief and faith. Let's see, Matthew J. Nimno, thank you much for the 2. Appreciate that. Nothing to believe. What about finger sex? You might take away your Force. Might take away the Force, chat. Might take away our Luke Skywalkers, but at least we'll always have finger sex. See the numbers? It's like when Knuckles calls out Amy's SJW comments. An unintelligent character is spouting the truth in such a blunt way that no one can actually figure out how to connect, how to counteract it. Oh, very nice. Lucky Jinx, very much for 2. Gotta go. Love you, Professor LD. Bye, chat. Well, have a wonderful day, Lucky Jinx. Have a wonderful day. Let's see here. So, Strange Room then adds, you got to earn your right. You got to earn that power to flip a ship in the palm of your hands. You can't just grab a ship in the sky just cuz. You got to work on that. Oh, the best this guy is just laying into the Disney Star Wars. Just laying into these merciless blows to everything the Star Wars the Disney Star Wars defenders love about Rey, that she's powerful without having to work at it. That's what they want, chat. Most of us want this. Most of us love Star Wars because it gives us hope, and it gives us a look into if we get strong enough, if we work hard enough, and if we believe and have faith, then we can eventually better ourselves and become stronger, even though we're not strong right now. But that's not the SJW NPC fantasy. The SJW NPC fantasy is I want to be strong just the way I am. I don't want to work for it. I just want to be strong. And that's what Rey gives them. Rey gives them a character who is strong right from the get-go without having to earn any of it. So essentially, she proves that they are strong just the way they are. They are fine just the way they are. And that's a dangerous mindset because that's a mindset that negates trying to improve yourself. And that's what they don't want to do. They don't want to improve themselves. They just want to be powerful. They just want to be popular. They just want free fame and fortune. So you can't just grab a ship in the sky. You got to work on that. He responds. His response is an obvious reference to Rey's advanced Force abilities in Star Wars: The Rise of Skywalker, where she and Kylo Ren battle using the Force over a ship that Rey suspects has captured Chewbacca. Best description of the Force and how Jedi train for years to understate it and be able to work with it echoes how George Lucas described it. Let's see here. Well, that might be interesting. Ryan Johnson defends his portrayal of Luke Skywalker. That might be interesting for today. Lucas detailed that anyone was able to hook in the Force, and made abundantly clear in the first Star Wars film that Obi-Wan Kenobi describes it to Luke Skywalker, telling him the Force is what gives the Jedi his power. It's an energy field created by all living things. It surrounds us and penetrates us. It binds the galaxy together. When asked by John Kasdan about the Force and who can hook into it, Lucas stated, "Yes, everybody can do it." Kazan then asked, "Not just the Jedi?" Lucas responded, "It's just the Jedi who can take the time to do it." He then went to explain, like yoga, okay, so it actually is yoga. So like yoga, if you want to take time to do it, you can do it. But the ones that really want to do it are the ones who are into that kind of thing. Also, like karate. It's why Luke needed to train with Yoda on Dagobah before he could face the Emperor. It's also why he was roundly defeated by Darth Vader in Empire Strikes Back, because he had not completed his training. What do you make of Best's comments, and do you agree with him? I absolutely agree with him, chat. It's been well established in the Force that you absolutely need to train. And I think, yeah, maybe everyone can tap into it. Everyone should be able to tap into it. But you need training, you need guidance, you need to practice. And as Jar Jar Binks says, the the essence here is that you can do what everything Rey does. You just need to practice first. You just need to just need to give us a scene where she trains. So trading, work ethic, strong work ethic, moral values, into adherence to the Force, doing what needs to be done to get stronger in that mindset. Those are all the things that need to be done here before you can get to Rey's level of power. Which is why it was such a huge betrayal when Rey just walked into the scene and was a complete master at everything without having to go to the proper training. But apparently, if we say that she needs training, we're all istophobes. I see Hex Harper, thank you much for the 5. Appreciate that. A galaxy flung into darkness. Chaos and civil war rages on. This when all may be lost, one hero emerges to set things right. His name is Jar Jar Binks. Absolutely. Who knew the most unlikeliest of heroes, Jar Jar Binks, would be our savior for the day? Who knew? Who knew, Chad? We need a Jar Jar Binks story now. Fix this now, Disney. As a dubious Neko, Star Wars quality is like my dad who went to get milk and never returned. It never did. It was the original trilogy. As far as movies went, it was the original trilogy, and then the quality just sort of nosedived from there. Now, games and TV shows might differ, but as far as the movies goes, yeah, the quality never came back to the quality you had in the original series. Let's see here. Daniel Lindsay, I still have a friend who is desperately defending TLJ and ROS, telling me that it makes sense since she trained with Luke and Leia, but their own canon. You can't lighting without hate and a willing to kill. She never trained with either. She trained with Leia for maybe a year, but only after they retconned Leia into being a Jedi too. So suddenly Leia's a Jedi, so that they could have a training session with Rey and Leia. That's it. That's it, chat. That's all the training she got. She didn't train with Luke. Luke sat her down on a rock, and then she broke the rock. She was already extremely powerful. She was already powerful, chat. She'd have to train with anyone. In fact, she trained for Leia for a year in the movie, and she got worse. So not only did she not need training, but training made her skills worse. It lessened her power. Training did. Lessened her power. Training did. So there you have it. Jar Jar Binks comes in to save the day, chat. Comes in to save the day. Now let's see. Let's see here. Okay, I have a yellow flash video. I think you might find interesting because he says Marvel Comics close to extinction. NBC Media finally agrees with obvious that comics are broken. So they're so broken. The comic book industry has become so broken that even the shill media isn't going to cover them for them anymore. Let's see here. So this should be interesting, chat. Get this up and running. There we go. There we go. Yep. And Barry Bend, you can't face the final boss without grinding beyond level 1. Exactly. Exactly. You need to practice. You need to hone your skills, hone your knowledge and your wisdom before you can fight the final battle. But you don't. Rey doesn't need to do that because she's a Mary Sue. But that's how it should be done, though. That's why it's so interesting to most people. That's why Luke's story is interesting to most people because he worked for things and he failed and he overcame obstacles. Anyway, let's go ahead and get started, shall we?
So one of the things that I've been talking about for a while now is the comic book industry. Will it survive till the end of the year? Now, the comic book industry has been in trouble for a while. We've been talking about that on and off for the past 2 years that I've even had channels. And I think no matter what, if it had stayed the course that it was on, the comic book industry was going to close for sure. Because, I mean, look what we've been getting. New Warriors, Children of the Atom, Gotham High. These are all terrible, terrible products that fail time and time again, but they just keep giving us more of it. It just shows that they don't really depend on money. The industry doesn't depend on money, mostly because Marvel and DC Comics, they have, gigantic companies that just give them money. Disney for Marvel, Warner Brothers for DC. Valiant Comics, I just found out, got like $9 million from a Chinese company so that they could try to make movies. This is, I guess, how Bloodshot got made. So they're not really trying to sell the comics. They're just trying to make movies. And the people that really get hurt by this are the comic book shops who ultimately have to try to peddle this stuff that's not really worth anything. And it just causes problems. They don't care about the comic book shops.
Yeah, they don't. It's all very good stuff. All very, very accurate. So the article he's reading says, no, coronavirus didn't kill the comic book superhero. So the backstory here is that let's see here. The Doobie Snako. Why do people still read comics? Mangas are superior in every way. I mean, people still want them. They still love them. They still want the Western style superhero comic, Western style comic in general, and they're still hungry for it. It's just that the quality from the mainstream comic book industry has diminished quite a bit. Let's see here. Gojira387. Well, it's true that superheroes will survive the beer bug. The characters, the ideas will endure. Current state of comics will hopefully not survive. Yeah, hopefully it's fun watching them burn themselves down. But the backstory here is that since I told you, since what happened after the shutdown for the pandemic shutdown, what ultimately happened was that every industry is suffering, but when the comic book industry closed its doors, it kind of immediately collapsed. Immediately collapsed. They can no longer do deliveries. It's no one's producing any comics. They can no longer pay. They're going to be laying off. Marvel's going to be doing layoffs at the end of the month if your job is considered non-essential, which might be the entire publishing wing of these comic book of Marvel. It's a scary time for them. And what the prevailing narrative has been, or at least the narrative that they've been trying to push, has been, oh, it's the coronavirus, it's the pandemic. This is why we're shutting down. This is why the comic book industry is crumbling. And they've been saying this over and over and over again, that it's not anything else. It's not because the industry was dying. It's because the pandemic happened. Well, no other industry immediately curled up and died the moment they shut down. They're suffering, and they're suffering big time, but they're not shut down. If we lifted the pandemic tomorrow, the quarantine tomorrow, if it was gone tomorrow, the movie industry would still be going on. It would be ramping back up. People would still be releasing things. The video game industry still releasing things. The comic book industry, however, might be able to recover. It might be already too late, but they've been blaming it on the coronavirus, blaming it on the pandemic going on. That the comic book industry is crumbling because of the pandemic, and not because of their behavior. And now it's getting so bad, and the facts have come to light in such a manner that not even the media is trying to run with that narrative anymore. Not even the media is trying to uphold that obviously nonsensical narrative. Now you have Screen Rant saying, no, coronavirus isn't going to kill comic book superheroes. And while that might mean that they're saying that it's going to persevere and prevail, they're right here in saying, no, the coronavirus didn't kill them. The creators killed them. The artists, the pompous artists, and the egotistical writers, they stomped Western comics into the dirt. Rocket Sailor, thanks for not $1.99. Definitely, thanks for the $9.99. Appreciate that. Awesome, awesome. Modern sci-fi is like a car about to be hit by a train, but when the train hits the car, it just kind of bounces off and off because it was made by taffy. Inevitable, disappointing, and leaves you asking why. Exactly. Especially modern sci-fi. It's this modern sci-fi is almost as bad as Marvel comics these days, or comics in general these days. They're coming from DC and Marvel. So it bounces off and just leaves you, and it's just disappointing and asking why. Why did you make Picard? Why did you make Discovery? Why did you portray them in this manner? Why did you do all the things you did with Doctor Who? Why did you do all these things you did with Star Wars? It doesn't make any sense whatsoever. Let's see here. Nexus 906, very much of the two. Rana is a good girl. She did nothing wrong. Rana is a good girl. She did nothing wrong. I'm not sure what that's in reference to. But maybe they didn't. Let's see if they did or not. Let's see here. Okay. So let's continue with what Yellow Flash has to say about this. See what they actually say in the article. I'm pretty sure because he named it this. It might be an article about how they're admitting defeat and how all their weirdos are coming crawling and screaming for peace despite the fact that they were horrible behind the scenes. Dubious, like Donny Cates trying to cancel people by screaming at the top of his lungs that they're Nazis and Istophobes, trying to ruin people's businesses and entire lives, and then having the audacity to come to us, the same people who try to cancel, and saying, "Hey, can't we all just be friends? Now that I need you to be friendly with me, now that I need you in order for myself to succeed." Huh. Strange how that works.
And, I don't know what to do about that. It doesn't seem that these companies want to try to make money. They don't seem to care. They just want to make movies. That's it. And then you see spin like this. So this has been one thing that's been going around. Saying, no, the thing that's going on right now isn't going to take out comic book superheroes. Well, nobody said that it was going to take out comic book superheroes. The movies are going to be around for a long time. So are like television shows, video games. The superheroes aren't going anywhere, but the comic books, they probably are. I just saw something from Peter Cimenti from Alterna Comics. He's saying that now Diamond is talking about they're not going to distribute comic books until August. Okay.
Yeah, there's a thing about Diamond. I say this, I think, every time. Just in case you don't know, Diamond is the distribution company that distributes comics so when it gets printed off of DC and Marvel, Diamond buys them up and distributes them, and then in turn sells them to libraries and comic book shops. But Diamond, however, is a monopoly. So if Diamond closes its doors, if Diamond shuts down, then no one in the mainstream comic book industry has really any way of delivering their printed comics to shops. And Diamond did close its doors, and they're not paying anybody. They decided not to pay anyone until they open up again for months now. So since they ordered a bunch of comics from DC or Marvel, then Marvel and DC are eating that cost right now, and no one's getting their comics. Because of Diamond, the comic book industry has kind of ground to a halt, and then DC and Marvel closing their doors, Valiant Comics closing the doors. Hashtag pencils down. It's in a mess right now, and the thing is, because it's been closed down for so long, and because of the comic book pros and how little product they're making that people actually want to buy, the comic book industry has been surviving on the narrowest, the thinnest margins of profit, if they had profit at all. So all these comic book shops, they were dying, and they made up pretty good percentage. They clearly were important to the comic book pros because once those started shutting down, the comic book pros that came out and started getting really worried that they weren't going to have any comic book shops when this is all over because they were already closing before this whole pandemic thing, and now a lot of them are closing doors, and they can't really. A lot of them don't have the money to operate to pay for all the things they need to pay for weeks without profit, for months without profit even. So even when this whole pandemic is over, they still might not be able to open the doors again. A lot of these things might be, all of these stores might be permanently closed. And because of this, the comic book industry might be permanently damaged to a degree where they cannot really recover from, which means massive layoffs, massive permanent layoffs of comic book creators. They no longer have that little stage they can shout at you from. Rocket and Sano, thanks for $1.99. A centralized production with no competition. Perfect. Yeah, that's why we don't have monopolies. It's terrible, terrible. We need more than just Diamond in distribution. Let's see. Hatch 450SX. Thank you very much for the 2. Hail Liddy D. Tell me SJWs didn't poison Troy Baker. Oh yeah, I do have an article on that. I'm not really sure if they poisoned him, but they did poison the franchise that he's a part of. I have an article on that we can go over in just a second here.
Okay, you need to understand, Diamond is the only company that takes comic books from Marvel, DC, and whoever and sends them to comic book shops. They've shut down. For all intents and purposes, they're out of money. They're broke. And they're talking about they're not going to be able to pay people now fully until like August. They're going to put them on payment plans, which is strange in itself. But they're not going to distribute anything until August. Apparently, this is coming from Alterna. And that's kind of an issue. Alterna's like, we're just going to distribute the books ourselves, which I think is a smart idea. The monopoly of Diamond was always a problem in itself, because now you have Marvel and DC and all these companies kind of trying to build their own distribution network from scratch. I mean, there's so many variables in this whole comic book thing that have just really plagued the industry. And I would have said comic books would have lasted another 5 years. I don't think the industry as it is.
Yeah, that's a really good observation, because if this pandemic never happened, okay, the comic book industry was dying. They kept trying to prop it up. They're trying to like form this bubble by increasing prices of comics, denying buyback of stores, so that where they used to sell stores comics and then buy back the comics that went unsold. But they stopped doing that so that they can push the burden of the cost of their failure onto the comic book shops and prop up their numbers with. And not only that, they refuse to put out comic books that people wanted to buy. They refuse to buy back comic books that went unsold, and they increase the price of comic books. And with certain issues, they released maybe 15, sometimes 30, around 30 or so variant covers, and they kind of extorted these. They kind of gave these stores a ultimatums. They say we have to buy 100 of this particular product, or you won't be able to get this. For example, you have to buy this new number 1. You have to buy 100 versions of this new number 1, or else you won't be able to get the same number 1 with a different cover. So you won't be able to get this cover unless you buy 100 more of these. And they did this so they can prop up the numbers even more. So even though the comic book shop says, well, I don't want to buy that many of these, I just want this cover, the comic book shop cannot get the more prestigious cover without wasting money on a lot of other comic books in the first place. And on top of that, not only did they release some books with 30 variant covers or so that they can browbeat these comic book shops into spending more money than they should, in order to get access to these prestigious covers, more prestigious covers. They also, what they also did, Jack, was that they continuously released new number ones because number ones sell highest. They give you a really cheap unearned surge. So if people see a number one on the shelf and say, "Oh, look, I can easily buy into this series." So they're relying on number ones and not relying on quality to sell the series. So for example, they know that people are, because they're low quality, because they produce low quality products, they know that people are going to buy up the number ones. They're going to read it, maybe go to number two, maybe they're going to be number three, because the numbers have shown that they have a huge surge on every number one, and then the viewership gets cut in half for number two, and then it gets cut in half again, maybe for number three, until they eventually cancel the thing early. Now, as opposed to a quality series where if someone goes in and they see the number 5 issue, and someone sees the cover and they read it, number 5, the 5th issue, and say this is cool, and they go back and try to get the number 1, number 2, number 3, number 4. They know they won't do that now. So instead of producing a narratively strong series with a good plot and good characterization, instead of doing that, they decided to just shotgun number ones everywhere. So they release like maybe 10 number ones, 10 series, and then just continuously cancel them and then revamp them. Cancel, revamp, cancel, revamp. So you have several SJW characters that have been canceled multiple times and then redone with new number ones. So for example, Riri Williams was canceled under the Iron Man logo, under the Iron Man name, and then redone under Ironheart so that she can get a new number one, all that stuff. So they continuously do new number ones. And it's like I covered it just a while ago, a few episodes ago. They revamped America Chavez, who was canceled for lack of sales. So they thought maybe they do the same thing they did with all these other SJW characters, and that they just see that there's lack of sales, cancel them, and then revamp them, give them a whole new series with a brand new number one with 30 variant covers. So that's not how it works anymore. So they're propping up their numbers artificially by doing all these underhanded tactics and saying that the comic book industry is doing fine because we made more money than we ever did. What they don't tell you is all the stuff they did to give them those numbers. It's not true profit. People are not buying these comic books anymore because they don't want them anymore. They're buying them because they're making more money because they're charging more and they're making the shops purchase more. SDK checking which are the two. Get woke, go broke is true. Now we have to get Corona. Well, I do know that get woke, go broke is definitely true. Angel the Side Sword, welcome. You're just here for the cupcakes. Well, that's fantastic. There's plenty to go around. Matthew J. Nimno, could you please clarify 30 different covers? Are these for bigger collections or single 22-page issues? Like, is this for cover variations than actual pages for these comics? As far as I've seen, it's for like a single issues. So they'll come out with a new issue that will have 30 different covers, or something like that. So the new issue that they come out with will have 30 different covers and make it a big event, saying that this next issue of America Chavez will host 30 different covers from 30 different excellent artists and stuff. And usually how it goes. So let's see what else they say. I think we're going to go ahead and cut off with Yellow Flash, and we'll move on to something else.
Is right now will survive the year. I think you'll see digital comics and something like that, maybe small print runs, but comic book stores, I don't know if they can survive this. You're already seeing closures every day, every or not every day, every week or so, another comic book shop closes, and then you see articles like this, trying to kind of run interference, say, whoa, comic books aren't going anywhere, and then you look through the article, and they're clearly just talking about superheroes. And then they do have this here, the comic book industry will survive. I mean, will it? they barely talk about why they think it will survive in this article. This whole article is basically about how superheroes aren't going anywhere. And I don't disagree with that. I don't think superheroes are going anywhere. But comic books, for sure, are.
Yeah, superheroes will stay. Comic books, however, they're probably going to be fading away. At least the mainstream industry as we know them will be fading away fairly soon here. I wonder on that aspect. I wonder if if that happens, if they start closing up wings in order to buy up their own debt, in order to get rid of a lot of the debt that they have incurred. I wonder if they start licensing out characters like Batman and Captain America. You have DC licenses out Batman and Marvel licenses out Captain America. I wonder if they'll do that. Kind of like as you imagine, what if they offered up Captain America for sale? So you can get like 10 different people buying licenses for Captain America, and they can just do whatever they want. They make their own comic book, so they just start breaking in money by just selling off Captain America to the highest bidder, and to multiple highest bidders. They don't really have to settle for one. They can have like 100 people buy licenses for Captain America, almost like he's in public domain, but they make money off of him. I think that could be a way they go, because you don't sell the movie rights, you just sell the comic book rights. So while they can still hold exclusive movie rights for Captain America, they can sell off the comic book rights for Captain America, and they won't be. No one will be stepping on each other's toes. And with that, they can just look at all the comic books being flooding the market. So they sell Captain America to 100 different people, right? They sell the license to 100 different people, and then Captain America comic books flood the market, and the best ones will float to the top, and they can use the best ones for inspiration for future movies. That seems to be where they might go, because licensing out copywritten characters, licensing out properties, intellectual properties, is already old practice. It's something that's always been happening. So I'm wondering, because they're incurring so much debt, and because they're not really making all that money off of comic books anymore, would it be possible I'm not talking about the whole thing, just the comic book rights. Sell me the comic book rights to Iron Man, where the only thing I can do with Iron Man under these rights is make a comic book about him. I can't make a movie. I can't make a television show or a novelization. I can just make a comic book. I can't make toys or anything like that. Just a comic book. And I wonder if they'll do that. Maybe sell Iron Man to 200 people. It's going to be a hefty price, but sell him to 200 people. And for a length of time, maybe you can make one series or one gigantic comic book about Iron Man. You're licensed for one project. And then the best float to the top, and they can take inspiration from the best of these stories at the public love and see, okay, well, here's what the people want to see from Captain America. Here are the Captain America stories that did the best. Okay, so Captain America is being portrayed as this here, and we like that. And they like that. So here's what we're going to do for our next movie. We're going to take the inspiration from these comic books, and we're going to get in contact with these creators, and we're going to make a deal with them, and they're going to say, we're going to see, okay, we're going to use your story in our movie. And I think that might be a good idea. And they could do the same thing with Batman. Could you imagine how much money they could make if they licensed out the comic book rights to Batman, if they closed up DC for good? They closed up the publishing wing of DC, and they say, okay, everyone, have at it. Batman is now up for sale for licensing. The comic book rights for Batman is now up for sale for licensing, and you can now purchase him. So you can have 200 people, maybe 300 people, get their one project for Batman, and DC makes a enormous chunk of change, maybe $200,000, $300,000. I mean, it's in grand scheme of things, considering how much debt they owe, not that much. But let's say they sell the licensing rights for Batman at 10 grand for a couple of projects or a series or something. Then you could have the same thing. The best Batman stories will rise to the top. It'd be like public domain, but you can make money off of it. That might be a good idea for them to go with. I'm not really sure they'll do that. Well, they might, if they decide to close the publishing wing of DC or close the publishing wing of Marvel, where they just concentrate on movies and not so much comic books. Why not? You have the properties. It won't be any skin off of your nose. Just sell the comic book rights to Iron Man and Captain America. You don't even have to acknowledge them anymore at that point. If you're just concentrating on movies, and you won't have to acknowledge the comic book being pumped out, and people will like the comic books, and then you can take inspiration from the best. That might be a good way to go. Who knows? Who knows, chat? Who knows? But it's looking pretty dire either way for the comic book industry as a whole. Of course, that'd be really funny because now all these creators who were so pompous about being having Captain America deals and stuff, a perfect karma for them. Hex Harper, thank you much for the 5. Introducing the re-release of Bacteria Man #1, despite the plot not being rebooted and retconned. 1,000 copies gets you a shiny Pog. It's exactly pretty much how it goes, actually. It's pretty much how it goes. We didn't. This character failed, so we're going to go ahead and cancel it, and we're going to just revamp it right away with a new #1. So I think I forgot when this happened, but one time they had an SJW character being written by a hardcore SJW activist, and that character was canceled, and then they immediately revamped it with a new #1, same exact character, same exact writer. So nothing changed. They just put out a new #1 for that character. It was amazing. It's really dirty stuff, chat. Really dirty stuff. Okay, let's see here. KH thing went to the 5. Think basically it was because of the success in the movies and it went over their heads. The old Marvel though, it was broke and it still make good comics. Yeah, there's some people do still make good comics out there. But I mean the prevalent ones, the ones that have been shouting from the rooftops, they've been ruining for so long. It's just not really recoverable. It doesn't look like it anyway. So let's see here. Rock and Sailor, thank you very much for the $1.99. Appreciate that. New Captain America comics made by made by Tencent. Yeah, that'd be really nice. I think it's made by anyone, actually, made by anybody. Chat. And how delicious would it be, chat? How delicious would it be if all these pompous weirdos were so gung ho and adamant about being on the next Iron Man project or something, and they think that they are better than you because they write for Iron Man. How delicious would it be if you independent creators who disagree with SJW comic books, who just want to create good stories, how incredible would it be if you were able to license these characters out and you did better? You sold these characters better than these pros did. They cannot let that happen. That's something that is inconceivable to them. How can they ever allow themselves to do that? So that's a nightmare. That would be a nightmare scenario for them. A nightmare scenario for them, chat. To have these to put these characters up for grabs, and it'd be fantastic. Of course, if you want to have like your own Avengers comic book, you would then have to license out Captain America and Iron Man and Hawkeye and Black Widow. So you have to license out every single one of those characters to use, your own Avengers comic. So they could make a pretty chunk of change, I think. But if you just want to do a Captain America comic book, like me, I'd buy up the Punisher in an instant if I could afford it. I'd license out the Punisher. I just make Punisher comics. But furthermore, there's even a more delicious solution to this, or delicious outcome. You could see Captain America being in running alongside Dr. Alpha, for example, or you could see Superman, or you could see Batman teaming up with Cyberfrog. You could see the Punisher running alongside with Jawbreakers, and it would all be licensed. It would all be legal, and your boy Zach could have, Silkworm, the rest of the Expendable crew, not the Expendables, but Jawbreaker crew. He could have the Jawbreaker's crew run alongside it with the Punisher and make money on his own. He doesn't have to give anything to Marvel or Disney as long as he licenses it out. So that would be delicious, chat. I could imagine the looks on the arrogant faces of all these SJWs. I can just imagine the looks on their faces when they when the one source of their pride, the main thing that makes them think that they are better than us, falls into our hands because of their own incompetence. That would be hilarious, and that would be completely delicious. Okay, Shining Musha 2, appreciate that. Rocket Signal, it would be called Captain China. Captain China. Perfect. Perfect. Of course they would do that. Rocket Signal for $1.99. Look up who and what Tencent is before you say that. I don't know, but it'd always be they'll be up for grabs, so anyone can get them. Anyone can get them. That's the danger. So it's good that the independent creators could get them, but it's also dangerous that they'd also be possibly bought up by weirdos. Weirdos. So Tencent is the Chinese the Chinese company, a conglomerate holding company. Yeah, so everything. Yeah, it's a Tencent could buy them up and make them into Captain China. Anyway, Chad, we'll move on with this, and I think we might cover Troy Baker tomorrow. But I'll give you a choice here, Chad. Actually, you know what? I'll give you a choice in just a second here. There's one more. There's another article I wanted to cover before we move into the choice round of this. And get this up here. This is an interesting thing. This is an interesting little piece I found, or was shown to me anyway. And here we go. Someone wrote this back in February in defense of Mary Sue's. Now, this should be pretty interesting, I think. This looks pretty promising, I think. Is it Dubious Nico? Am I the only girl who hates SJW stuff? I find SJW stuff lazy and incredibly boring. Yeah, because they usually are lazy and incredibly boring. Very, very lazy and very, very boring. That's why they're SJWs. That's why they're SJWs, because they don't really have the talent or the creative competency to put out something interesting without having to rely on social justice to prop them up. Let's see here. Dr. Crow, thanks for the $1.99. Appreciate that. I call dibs on Squirrel Girl. Make her a real hero. Yeah, license out Squirrel Girl. She'll probably be a little cheaper than everyone else. But I think it'd be great. I think it'd be great. They should license out these characters if they do end up closing the publishing wings. And like I said, they could just sell us the comic book rights. No movies or novelizations or series or toys or like that. Just comic book rights. Just give me the comic book rights. I'll take those. Let's see here. So, Gojira 387. Companies should have guidelines and restrictions to protect their properties from being bought by hostile and foreign entities such as China. They should, because they. I mean, unfortunately, they should, but they probably don't because they didn't have guidelines to protect their properties from SJWs and NPCs, from domestic threats, let alone foreign threats. Let's see. Okay. So, I'm really curious on how they're going to defend a character that's indefensible. How are you going to defend a Mary Sue? This should be interesting. Okay. So, anyone who knows me will tell you that I spend a lot of time thinking about Star Wars. No kidding. I see occasionally a bunch of 5. Even in Japan, they made OP characters more interesting than the one made by SJWs. I know exactly. You look at One Punch Man; his whole shtick is being overpowered, and then you have Goku, who is his whole personality is being overpowered, pretty much. But they made them interesting because Japan knows how to make stories interesting apart from just power levels, apart from just strength of just physical strength. Japan knows how to make things interesting based on drama and characterization, things of that nature. So even though you have One Punch Man who is invincible, you have Saitama who is invincible and can conquer any enemy in one punch, there's so much more going along with that. There's so much more revolving around his character and the world around him that it becomes far better than just what kind of monster can he defeat today. They don't explore Saitama's strength; they more explore his existence as a whole, and that makes it far more interesting than just guy who punches bad guy and wins all the time. So the Shidow's characters are just basically Saitama, but they without the drama and the talent, and just to focus on a powerful character who wins all the time. Not all that interesting. Charles Bosserman, thank you very much for the 5. Appreciate that. I think I'll I'll be lucky to make it out of this Mary Sue article without a brain aneurysm. I think you won't be alone there. But this seems pretty cringy already. So we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens, chat. Okay, so let's check it out. Let's check it out. Zayukia. Goku is extremely OP in terms of strength, but he's also known to be completely incompetent in most everything else. Mary Sue's, however, aren't. Yeah, so at least Goku has some give and take where he's really, really competent. Vegeta, on the other hand, is not as strong as Goku, but he has more competency in other facets of his life. The same thing if you ever seen the show, the anime Yu-Gi-Oh! It has the same dynamic. Yugi is the best in the world at cards, but he's kind of inept at everything else. He's not really good socially. He's not very good with anything else in life. He's kind of a slacker. He's kind of a. I mean, if you read the manga, the first one where it's not about card games at all. It's about basically Saw mixed with Cthulhu. It's really interesting. But yeah, Yugi's a slacker. He has really poor grades. He's not that great in terms of a person everywhere else. He's kind of a weakling. Whereas Kaiba, his rival, is second best only to Yugi. He's not really as good as in card games and gaming as much as Yugi is, but on the other hand, he is in high school and he runs a very successful $1 billion company. And so he has all sorts of things going on in his life other than games. So if you took away games, Kaiba still has an entire life. If you take away good games from Yugi, he has nothing. So it's a really strange dynamic there. But it's essentially the same as Goku and Vegeta. Let's see, Hatch450SX, thank you very much for the 2. Don't play Final Fantasy VII Remake. They changed Can's story. Oh, they did? I wonder why. What did they change? I heard it was it's a remake. I heard it was too easy. The game journalists say it was too easy, so I guess they were kind enough to instill a journalist mode. First of its kind, it seems. So, what kind of canon did they break in that one? Now that's interesting. I didn't finish the original Final Fantasy VII, but I did start it, and it was very interesting. I really liked the game. Let's see, Dubious Nico. Picture this: Snowflake, a crack addict villain who has lost all his humanity to drugs. He knows only to destroy and is incredibly powerful. Yeah, I mean, there should be a payoff. There should be some flaw, some price you pay. Unlike Yagami, Yu-Gi-Oh! Season 0 was the best series of Yu-Gi-Oh! I suggest people read what they call Season 0 of the original Yu-Gi manga. That's interesting stuff. Like, for example, they play a game where they play ice hockey or tabletop hockey, where you have the little paddles and you just hit the puck across the table and try to get it through everyone's defenses, the opponent's defenses. But they played it on a hot table, like there was a big, gigantic iron table they used for cooking, like hibachi cooking or something, like in Japan. And they played with an ice puck, and in the middle of the ice puck was a bomb. So as they play, the ice is melting, and once that bomb hits the very hot table, it explodes in your face. So they continue hitting the puck back and forth as the ice is melting, and the gamble is that whoever is closest to it will probably die. They also played a coin game where they reach into a shoe and pull out as many coins as possible, and whoever at the end of the game has the most coins wins the game. However, the catch is that you have to be able to pull out your hand out of the shoe, and there's a deadly scorpion in the shoe. So you have to be quick enough and be able to get your hand out of there fast enough before the scorpion comes in and stings your hand and you die. So it's really interesting games they have going on in Yugi, the original manga. Also, if you lose your sanity. Sometimes it's a and Kaiba is really crazy. Like he hires a legitimate serial killer who just got done butchering a bunch of Boy Scouts to work for him as they to hunt down Yugi and his friends. Also, his butler is a legitimate assassin and a guy who is an expert with poisons. He hires assassins to play a deadly game of laser tag with them. It's really interesting stuff. Let's see here. Rockin' Sailor, just for $9.99. R.I.P. Rick May, voice of Peppy Hare and the Soldier. Okay. Well, R.I.P. to them. Thank you very much. Appreciate that. Okay, so in defense of Mary Sue's, let's see, because I have so much more than this chat. So let's get through this, and we'll see. I'll give you a choice of which we cover next, because I have several other things we can cover, and some things I think you might like. Because there's one thing that was hilarious. It's fresh off the presses from yesterday, and that's one of the things that's on the table after this. So let's go through this, and we'll see what happens. Okay, so here we go. So anyone who knows me will tell you that I spend a lot of time thinking about Star Wars, like a lot. It is a habit that has taken me to some very strange places on the internet. Star Wars is one of the most polarizing topics in internet discourse at the moment. Yeah, thanks, Ryan Johnson. But for some reason, I always find myself driving headfirst into it. At all times, you will come across someone who agrees with you that Last Jedi is the only truly great Star Wars film. Well, I mean, you can think that, but you'll be wrong. But most times, you will be shot down. Yeah, because you're wrong. As to quote Mahler, The Last Jedi is objectively bad. This is an objectively bad movie. I am okay with this, I like to tell myself. It is just a movie after all. But there is one thing that bothers me to no end, and that is people who bring up the term Mary Sue. This drives me insane. Describing a character as a Mary Sue is one of the most brain dead things a person can do to film criticism. It is not just because pointing out that a character is a Mary Sue is horribly lazy, a horribly lazy way of critiquing a story. It is because Mary Sues are actually needed in. You did not just say this. You did not just seriously, unironically say this. What have you done? What is this? How have you how have you said this? It's ridiculous. It is because Mary Sues are actually needed in narrative fiction. No, they are not needed in narrative fiction. They absolutely are not. They are needed maybe when you're practicing narrative fiction because they're mistakes. And everyone makes mistakes. Everyone needs to make mistakes so they can learn from them. But they're not needed in narrative fiction. So I would like to explain why. Well, I'm willing to hear this explanation. I'm really interested now. Matthew J. Nimno, LD, full stops. Oh no. Oh no, chat. Okay. Okay, so it is because Mary Sues are actually needed in narrative fiction. I would like to explain why. Oh, please do. First, some background. A Mary Sue is a trope in narrative fiction that refers to a character that is overpowered, flawless, and ultimately unrealistic. They are generally used in to critique a story because it's hard to create a sympathetic character if they do not have flaws. We like characters to reflect something real, perhaps a struggle that we ourselves are going through. It makes them feel real, compelling people, and creates stories worth writing and experiencing. It also gives us a sense of realism because we want to see characters struggle. That's what heroism is about. We want to see characters struggle and then overcome those struggles. not just go in there and win all the time. I see a criminal imagination thing, which is 5. Lydia G channeling his inner Booker T. You do not just say that. Tell me you not to say that. Well, that's Booker T's thing. I agree. How could you say this? You did not just say that. Oh, fantastic. Thank you very much. Appreciate that. Barry Bend. These are the same people who can't play a classic Final Fantasy game without complaining about it's too hard. Exactly. Okay, let's see here. Writers live for that moment where their audience sees the character they have written and says, "Holy shit, that's me." No. What writers were you talking about? Is this more that I can't identify with the character on screen unless it looks like me sort of stuff? I've never heard any writer say this. Okay, I've been in a lot of creative writing classes. I've spoken with a lot of writers, listened to a lot of writers. Never once did I hear writers say that they want the characters to be you. Most of the time, they want the characters to be compelling, the characters to be interesting, want their characters to be going through something universal esque struggle, and that might be struggling with identity, for example. But while your struggle for identity involves maybe trying out a new job or trying out for sports, a creative writer's version of a character going through a search for identity might be going to another parallel world where they find out who they really are inside. So, same struggle at base, it just go to different things. You might join a club. They might go to an alternate reality where everything has magic. So, the same struggle, different reality. It doesn't want to be me, because if you're working on characters wanting to be the audience, then the audience is going to have a very difficult time, because guess what? There are lots of different people out there, and you're going to be alienating a lot of people if you just write for one specific narrow-minded group. It's not supposed to be you on screen, but you can be the normal person can identify with the person on screen if they can identify with the struggles. They can identify with their thoughts and their mindsets. It doesn't have to be you on screen. It has to be you in the book. Okay, this is a misconception. I don't go looking for a book and saying, I don't go looking for a story so that this person, I can say, this person is me. No, I don't need that. I don't know what this whole thing has become. Like, I don't go watch a Lord of the Rings movie. I don't want to be Gandalf. I don't like Lord of the Rings the movie because I like Frodo. I like it because of the adventure. I like it because of the characters in there. I like it because you can kind of see the struggle and temptation. You kind of identify with what Frodo's going through, but you don't want to be him. You don't want to. Well, I don't want to be him. I don't, and I can certainly say that Frodo isn't me. Gandalf isn't me. Okay. So no, this that's me on screen. Therefore, it's good. That's me on screen. Therefore, I like it. That's nonsense. Absolute nonsense. SAKH, much of the 5. Appreciate that. If you want the MC to be yourself, write an autobiography and then you can make yourself a Mary Sue, and then see how many people buy your book. I'm pretty sure you'll have an audience of 1 if you did that. It's what people do in fan fiction. It's become a joke, because new writers tend to come in and they write Mary Sue's in the world that they want to inhabit, and no one. And those are the stories that get really lambasted. Let's see here. Okay. Anyway, it is an incredibly gratifying moment for any creator. No, not really. The gratifying moment is having the audience or your reader saying, "Wow, this was great. You really helped me," or "You really allowed me to see through something," or "You really allowed me to get through a tough time." Like with Neil Gaiman expressed his someone came to him with, he said, the woman who read Coraline had struggles in her own life, and she always went back to Coraline and said, "Well, if Coraline can get through this, then I can." Because it's not always about the struggles being identifiable. It's not always about the character being identifiable as yourself. It's about the character. Sometimes it's about the character just going through struggles and just getting through them. And that's the basis of any hero you want. That's the basis of any hero. What we want to see in any hero is that they go up against obstacles, maybe sometimes seemingly impossible, and then getting through them. Because sometimes it's that exact thing. It doesn't matter what the obstacle is, or what the person who is undergoing those obstacles seems to be. Sometimes it's just about seeing someone overcome something terrible and come out unscathed on the other side. Sometimes people just want to see characters undergo horrible things so that they can identify and feel inspired from the fact that they made it through and came out the other side. Sometimes that's all people really need. So that is what I think a lot of authors really want to see. This story got me through a hard time. This story allowed me to realize something I never thought of before. That is what I think a lot of creators tend to look for. That is the most common thing I've heard a lot of creators tell me. That's what they want to hear from the readers and the audience members. That they positively affected their lives in some way, even if it's just about entertaining. It's just about how they allow them to get through the day when on one particularly terrible day, allow them to get through a particularly terrible part in their life. To me, that's what seems to be the one moment where the creator is really looking forward to. The one moment that the creators are really looking forward to hearing or to knowing. Okay, chilling much of the two, appreciate that. But the gratifying moment is the finger sex. Oh, obviously, always the finger. I think that goes without saying. Let's see here. Storytelling is powerful because it can show us to live our lives and approach the many, many problems of existence in a way that feels manageable. It can help us feel important, or it can humble us. It can leave you optimistic or in despair. The point is good storytelling captures something real. Yes, that part is true. How can you believe this? How can you believe in good storytelling and believe Mary Sue's are a necessary part of it at the same time? Because you cannot have a Mary Sue in a good story. I mean, yes, you could, but Mary Sue itself is a product of bad writing. So the very presence of a Mary Sue is the presence of bad writing. So, if the characters in the story don't reflect that level of realism, then how can it be a good story? So, invoking the trope Mary Sue is a neat way to point out this lack of realism and relatably in a story. Only the way people seem to be using Mary Sue is misguided. So, invoking the trope Mary Sue is a neat way to point out the lack of realism and relatability in a story. Well, yeah, if we're describing a character as one, so you not really if you can't really use it as that unless you're trying to troll somebody. Let's see here. You see, before when I had defined a Mary Sue as a trope in a narrative fiction, I lied. Mary Sue is not a trope. Mary Sue is a character. 1973, Paula Smith wrote a Star Trek fan fiction called Trekie's Tale. Although this wasn't like your typical fan fiction, it had intelligence. It was self-aware. Trekie's Tale was a parody, satirizing the tendency for writers to self-insert characters into an already established body of work that as a form of wish fulfillment. Okay, and to be honest, who can blame them? Works as fan. The reason why she said she did this is because all of the fan fiction she was getting in were just terrible. They all wrote. They weren't trying to write good stories. They were trying to be just self-insert wish fulfillment nonsense. So Paula Smith made a satirized version of pretty much all the elements of these stories that she saw from Desperate Housewives, from the Lonely Housewives, and she put them all together in one story, and she just made fun of it. Paula Smith was the original troll. DJ M Voices, thank you much for the 5. Appreciate that. Article. I don't understand why people don't see how I'm right about this. Proceeds to lay out the simple explanation as to why he's wrong. Exactly. I don't get why people don't like Mary Sue's. Let me lay out exactly why people don't like Mary Sue's. some of these people, chat. These people, they just some of them just go off just without self-awareness of any kind whatsoever. Okay, so here we go. I had intelligence of where Tricky Tale was a parody, satirizing the tendency for writers to self-insert characters into already established bodies of work, as a form of wish fulfillment. And to be honest, who can blame them? Works of fan fiction do not necessarily need to stand out on their own as a good story. They are often written simply as for fun, as a way for fans of an established property to take complete control of the narrative and characters. They tell the story they want to. Tell the story they want to. There is simply no need to concern yourself with rules when they are writing not yourself. When you are writing not for yourself. There is simply no need to concern yourself with rules when you are writing not for yourself. What does that mean? What does that mean, chat? There is simply no need to concern yourself with rules when you are writing not for you. So when you're writing not for yourself, you don't need to follow rules? Or do you mean when you're writing for yourself, there's no need to follow rules? Because that would make more sense to your point. It makes no sense whatsoever for you to say there is simply no need to concern yourself with rules when you are writing not for yourself. Am I supposed to really take in the double negative here? What's going on? What a weird sentence. Of course, there's always a need to follow rules, even when you're writing for yourself. There's a need to follow rules. Follow the rules of narrative. Because otherwise, you have just a jumble of nothing. Let's see, Rock and Salem just for $1.99. So you want to make them cathartic villains? You want us to make them cathartic villains? I think so. I think that's where it seems to be going here. Okay, so still, the self-insert character of fan fiction were growing increasingly ridiculous. Particularly, the thing is about when in the terms of Paula Smith. Okay, Paula Smith was an editor for what was used to be called a fanzine, and a fanzine was big in the 80s, and it was kind of an official fan fiction, more or less. They weren't part of the canon, obviously, but what they did do was they accepted entries of fan fiction, and they went over the quality of these fan fiction entries, and they published them if they were good enough in a magazine. So they would sell the magazine, and you could see your work published in an actual magazine, and the magazine was just filled with works done by fans. And so it's basically pretty much the same thing you do when you're taking in stories for a real magazine. You check out the entries, you lay them out, you see which ones are the best, and you reject the ones that are not so great. That's why Paula Smith kept made the great story that she did, because there was an instance where a bunch of lonely housewives kind of took over the fan fiction market, and she got a flood of lonely housewife fan fiction from Star Trek, and it was always them being really, really young, being geniuses, and capturing the attentions of both Kirk and Spock to have your typical love triangle. So Lonely Housewives ruined the chat, essentially. They drove Paula Smith so insane that she went ahead and did this parody that named the hideous beast that is the Mary Sue. So still the self-insert characters of fan fiction were growing increasingly ridiculous, particularly within the fan fiction fandom, the Star Trek fandom. Paula was aware of this trend, and she channeled it through the main character of her own fan fiction, Mary Sue, age 15 and a half years old. Mary Sue is the youngest and most accomplished lieutenant in the fleet. She's beautiful, intelligent, and incredibly capable. Nothing stands in her way. Paula made her point. Her little Star Trek fan fiction was funny, earning Mary Sue a permanent place in the lingo of the fan fiction community. It remained so for some time. If someone ever read a fan fiction that seemed dangerously close to this trend, he might point it out, and a somewhat tongue-in-cheek tool used to guide hobbyists hobbyist writers in their own niche little corner of the world. All was well until the internet came and fucked everything up. It's impossible to talk about movies today without bringing up the Disney Star Wars movies. Okay, there is particular. This is particularly the case when talking about Mary Sue's. These are the films that are reasonably responsible for launching the term Mary Sue into mainstream consciousness. Not really. The term Mary Sue was always around in mainstream, especially in Star Trek. I mean, Wesley Crusher was one that was a really big one, and they had plenty more around. Plenty more around. It's only because people labeled your waifu Ray as a Mary Sue then that you really started to pay attention to the term, and you really started to dislike it. It was fine until then. It was completely fine until then. You had no qualms with it. KH Language of the Five. That is a bad idea of fan fiction. Even the Wuxia novels of Louis Chia is tons better kind of for morning reads. Oh yeah. I'm pretty. And it's usually these come from inexperienced writers or SW writers. People don't want to put in the work of do the footwork of producing quality content. They just want to play around in a sandbox, so to speak, and just have to go get right to the stuff they want to see. So get right to the romance, get right to the stuff that they really want to see. So let's see here. These are the films responsible for launching the term Mary Sue into the mainstream consciousness. Not that Disney Star Wars haters were the first adopters of Mary Sueism. Still, somewhere along the way, Mary Sue lost its original usage of as a way of mocking fan fiction and entered the big boy world of mainstream narrative fiction, and we can pretty sure and we can be pretty sure these films help to speed up that process. Well, yeah, because you made a Mary Sue as the main character. It's kind of hard to ignore the fact that you made a Mary Sue as the main character and then ignore the Mary Sue as a trope. This is fan fiction, chat. The Star Wars Disney is fan fiction. So we're still when we say that Rey is a Mary Sue, we're still mocking a fan fiction character. Is what happens in this case. The fan fiction is canon, unfortunately. You see, film critics have never needed the term Mary Sue before because they have these great tools they can use to critique characters and writing called words in academic training, and lots of experience watching an ungodly amount of movies. But just as everyone becomes an expert in synchronized swimming whenever the Olympics are so too does everyone become an expert in film criticism whenever a really big popular movie is released. Film critics are not different from anyone else. They just watch a lot of movies. A film critic is just a different way of saying a guy who watched a lot of movies. Okay, it's because you go to school doesn't mean you're a film critic if you haven't seen a lot of movies. You have to, as the people who love to defend The Last Jedi say, according to David Hume. But I'm going to actually use David Hume correctly and saying that David Hume said that one thing you can do to be a critic is not go to school. Okay, he didn't say you had to go to school to become a critic. He said that you should have a delicate palate, and that you should do away with your prejudice when you're critiquing something, and that a good critic, the ideal critic, should have a roster, should have experienced a wide variety of art, so that you have things to reference, so that you have other pieces of reference. Okay. As according to the philosopher David Hume, which is the guy who all these defenders of TLJ love to put forth as a philosopher of a defense of theirs, but I guess didn't read into him quite enough. I just read into him as far as they wanted to, and they took away from him as what they wanted to take away from Hume, even though Hume would actually disagree with them on the defense, because they argue feeling over logic, while Hume would say, if you want to critique something, get rid of feelings and critique it according to your roster of what you know and free of all prejudice. So there we are. Anyway, Let's see here. Let's see here. Olympics. So yeah, just because you went to school and have a fancy degree, doesn't mean you are any better a film critic than the guy next to you. If the guy next to you has experienced a lot of film and and art, okay, you don't need academic expertise. Doesn't work that way. Also, there's the fact that you don't need to be a chef to know the food is terrible. Okay, if you're not a chef, uh, it doesn't take a chef to know the food you're eating is awful because your taste buds let you know that. Whenever a really big popular movie is released, and what does someone who has no experience with film or criticism or even watching lots of movies critically do when they need a critique a movie? That is where and gotcha phrases like Mary Sue's come into the picture. Well, that's true. Sometimes that people do misuse the term Mary Sue because they don't personally like the character of the movie. However, doesn't mean Mary Sue's are essential in narratives, a narrative fiction. It doesn't mean that Mary Sue's are good in any way, and that definitely doesn't mean that Ray isn't one. All you have to do is say Ray is a Mary Sue, and then back up your points with different examples from the film and the lore, and pretty much everything from that you can come away with. And also, when it comes to Star Wars in particular, you don't really need to have experienced a lot of different terms of art. You just mainly need to be an expert in Star Wars because a lot of problems with Rey in particular come from the fact that she is kind of separate from the rules of Star Wars. She doesn't follow the rules. She's the special kid. She is the one who the rules bend for. Let's see the numbers. By wanting to subvert your expectations for filet mignon, how was I supposed to know you had a peanut allergy? Yeah, don't subvert expectations too much. It might trigger our allergies. Okay, I think everyone is allergic to Mary Sue's. Even the people who like Ray are allergic to Mary Sue's. It apparently messes with their brain. So let's see here. People discussing films online latch on the term Mary Sue as if it has always existed with agreed upon meaning, a universally recognized component of a bad film. In doing so, people ignore the history of the term. The fact that it was a joke someone made up to make fun. Yeah, it was a joke, but many a truth was said in jest. Okay, that's why they had a court jester do his thing with the king, so that the jester can tell the king bad news or truths in joke form instead of one of those courtiers coming in and telling him straight to his face and getting his head cut off. The jester would do it in a pleasing manner, a very hysterical manner. Let's see here. Angela Sword, the misuse of the Mary Sue makes it good for them to exist. By that logic, if somebody misuses the term Nazi, that means being a Nazi is suddenly a virtue. Very good point there. Very good point. Don't want to have that implication. See, in doing so, some people ignore the history of the term. The fact that it was a joke someone made up to make fun of Star Trek power fantasies. It's not just a power fantasy. A power fantasy can be interesting to read. In fact, power fantasy is a very good industry. However, the Mary Sue is a power fantasy of one. It's their own personal one, their own personal power fantasy. And if you like the Mary Sue story, it's more along the lines of you not liking the story or you not liking the character, but you're liking some sort of element within that story to such a ludicrous degree that you kind of block out everything else. Like how the Rise of Skywalker was essentially it was bad, and the TLJ was bad, but people like TLJ, but don't like the Rise of Skywalker. And I think Adam Friendly pointed this out on one of his streams, was that people who hate the Rise of Skywalker would probably love the TLJ, but they love the politics of TLJ, just the absurd level of politics in The Last Jedi. They love the politics in The Last Jedi so much that they kind of ignore and willfully ignore all the problems with the movie and all the problems with Rey. Even though both Rise of Skywalker and TLJ were both terrible movies, they love The Last Jedi because it makes them feel smart, or they like the politics of it. And that's it. So it's not the fact that they love the fantasy. It's not the fact that they love the character, love the story. It's the fact that there's some element in that story that they love so much that they cannot stand to be without it. They just are blind to all the other criticisms. Oh, that's a long article, chat. Okay, I think we'll finish this chat. Then we'll finish this tomorrow. For now, I'll save this for tomorrow. I think we're running out of time. So for now, chat, it's choice time. It's choice time, chat. So I'll give you a few seconds here. Would you rather me cover a video of a Disney Star Wars Defender, or actually a video on someone who's explaining to you why they hate the original trilogy of Star Wars, or would you like to see a stream that is hot off the presses from yesterday, where Ethan Van Sciver goes onto an anti-Comicsgate channel and defends accusations against him? Basically, they kind of accused him committing fraud of one of his campaigns, specifically the Ribbit coins. And it's a YouTube channel of one of these crazies, the one that's really stalkerish. They call her a stalker. Obviously has no idea about how the law works or anything happens. But one of these lunatics who spend all day, every day, obsessing over Comicsgate and Ethan Van Sciver. This just happened yesterday. This happened yesterday. So we can go over the stream and we can see how hilarious it ended up. Okay. So. Okay. OT hate. Okay. OT hate. Let's see. Disney, the stream. Okay, Disney Defender. Okay, I'm getting Disney Defender. Okay, we'll go with Disney Defender, chat. No problem. No problem at all. Let's check it out. Let's see here. Who knows? We might be able to get through it quick enough where we can do both. We'll see. We'll see what happens. We can always save it for tomorrow. And here we go. And here we go. So, the video is called Why I Hate the Star Wars Original Trilogy. This should be good. This should be good. Is he the dubious Neko? From what I've heard, I've never seen The Force Awakens or Last Jedi or Rise of Skywalker. Rey is pretty much one of those crappy fanfic gender bend characters. Yeah, she is. She is, without a doubt. That's pretty much exactly her definition, or exactly her description. Except with a lot less personality and a lot less soul. Let's see here. A Gojira 387. TLJ proved heroism is fake and stupid and a lie, and and I know that me being big brain person, not dumb big dumb fanboy. Exactly. Criminal imagination. Do all defenders start their videos with the island? I'm not sure. They might. I just know that all the defenders always use that really somber sounding Star Wars music, the one that essentially follows Luke around or something. If I'm pretty sure this guy plays it. I haven't seen this video, but they always have this music, the one that makes you want to feel somber or sad when they're more emotional when they're talking about it. So if he has it in here, I'll point it out. I'll play it. If he doesn't, then I won't. But they usually have that song in there. KH, thank you much for the 2. Don't run out of the internet gas. I hope not. I hope not. I think we're full as far as I'm aware. So let's check it out, chat. Let's see what this person has to say on why the original trilogy was dumb.
You know, I've been hearing a lot of criticism for the new Star Wars movie, but you know what? There is already 3 terrible Star Wars movies that have been around for 40 years and no one has complained about them. I'm sorry, but I need to put my 2 cents in here right now and put my foot down and explain to you how the original trilogy was terrible and it ruined Star Wars.
I'm getting the parody vibe here, so let's see. Let me make sure. I'm sort of getting a parody vibe here. Okay, so this is a parody vibe. This is a parody chat. Someone brought this up in Discord, or just this was shown to me. It's like, oh look, this guy hates the original trilogy. So this is a parody. This is a parody. So okay, so I'll give you I have another one, chat. So I'll give you another choice. Do you want to continue with the parody and just laugh along with this creator, or do you want me to pull up another defender? Because I have another defender. So what do you want to? The other one I think is Raylo stuff. I think it's a Raylo thing. The next one. So you want to keep on going with the defender? Go with the Raylo video? I think it's the Raylo one. Or do you want to go with the EVS stream? Let's see here. Another defender. Okay, so I'm seeing another defender. Let's see here. Continues then Skyver. Let's see here. Parody, real defender, or okay. So I'm getting defender. Okay, I'm getting real defender. So let's see here. Yeah, this is the story of Ben Solo. Now, this one has also been shown to me. I haven't seen this one either, so hopefully it's not another parody. I don't think it is. This one sounds more real. So let's check it out, chat. I don't usually watch these before. I just see like a little bit, see maybe the title might work. But this one comes with a please read in the beginning, so this might be good.
Due to a quote from Sigmund Freud and the topic of self-harm, this video is not intended for children and viewer discretion is advised. In the much-anticipated conclusion of The Rise of Kylo Ren, we see Ben Solo become the man Sidious wanted him to be. 2 of Ben's peers at Luke's Jedi Academy, Ty and Vo, find Ben through the Force and see him with the Knights of Ren on the Mind Moon of Mimban. Ty, a young Padawan of which Ben shares a connection, pleads for Ben to turn back to the light and offers him hope. There's hope. There's always hope. You can start from wherever you are. No path is forever. Despite what many think, Ben never strayed too far from redemption. No sin was great enough to burn the bridge to the journey home. Unfortunately, Ren, the leader of the Knights, kills Ty before Ben can respond. Ben confronts Ren, and despite means the male organ, which unites the 2 parents.
Okay, so this is we're getting to the good stuff over here. So let's see here. This is an example of Ben Solo's journey, I suppose.
He did the deed. Blood had been spilled and he covered himself with guilt. Ben hated himself. He bled that crystal due to self-hatred. He crushed that crystal to crush his spirit. His saber, though contained by the hilt, spit uncontrollable venom. Kylo would thrash out using that saber, making long streaks of bright red. A further.
Yeah, I always like the fact that Ben Solo is kind of a hoarder. So he gets this lightsaber, and it's defective. So he has to have 2 vents on the side of his lightsaber so that it can function properly. But it always looks like that. It's always in flux or something. But he keeps it anyway instead of giving a new one. And then his helmet explodes. Instead of giving a brand new helmet, which is probably easier to do, he fixes his old one. So he's kind of a hoarder. I thought it was kind of a funny trait to his character.
Metaphor of self-harm. These outbursts always followed moments of failure. long cuts to release the anger and rage he felt against himself. He was no monster, just a human struggling with balancing himself. Ben Solo wasn't just the shadow, or the dark, as he proclaims himself to be. Leia
If this doesn't turn out to be good, Chad, we'll just go move on to the EVS stream. But we'll give it a few more minutes here.
saw Ben in her womb as a band of
Wombs! We got wombs, chat. Okay. Wombs have been confirmed. Okay, so let's continue. This might be one of those artiste sort of videos. So I'm getting I was told, I think this is a Raylo one. I think this is a Raylo one. So we'll see.
light with a vein of darkness. And Luke went on to comfort his sister regarding that, saying, "The brighter the light, the darker the shadow." Kylo failed to see that Ben Solo is his true self. He didn't have to define himself. He didn't have to prove himself, and although he bled his crystal to break the chains that he felt bound him, he undoubtedly invented the shroud of Kylo Ren to suffocate his light. And his last step to success, to victory, only led to more captivity. According to Sigmund Freud, bridges have multiple meanings. In the work New Introductory Lectures on Psychoanalysis, Freud
We got wombs. We have Sigmund Freud. This should be good.
discusses the deeper symbolic meanings of a bridge. First, it means the male organ, which unites the two parents in intercourse. But afterwards, it develops further meanings which are derived from this first one, insofar as it is thanks to the male organ that we are able to come into the world at all, out of the amniotic fluid. A bridge becomes the crossing from the other world.
So we're quoting Sigmund Freud, and we're talking about wombs and stuff to explain Kylo Ren, one of the most blandest characters in all of Star Wars, right next to Rey. So we're really going to start defending Last Jedi. We started defending the Star Wars movies with Sigmund Freud and philosophy on wombs. Okay. So here we go.
The unborn state, the womb, to their world, life. And since men also picture death as a return to the womb, to the water, a bridge also acquires the meaning of something that leads to death.
Okay, I might be alone on this chat, but I don't think that Kylo Ren and all the characters of Disney Star Wars, I don't think Disney Star Wars as a whole is worthy of this sort of this sort of analysis. Okay, it's not worthy of this defense. Okay, it's not one of those movies is worthy of going this deep into philosophy and psychology and trying to defend it. KH thing, which is the two. Is this Death Stranding? No, unfortunately, it isn't. It's a defense of Kylo Ren, apparently. Barry Ben, as soon as womb was said, they lost credit to intelligence. Yeah, we need the wombs in there, chat. We need to have the wombs.
And finally, at a further remove from its original sense, it stands for transitions or changes in condition generally. Kylo Ren was born on that first bridge. However, his father, the origin of his birth, called to him on the second to make the turn. When the audience first encounters a bridge in the sequel trilogy, we see Kylo Ren encounter his father, Han Solo. Han, prepared to sacrifice his life, confronts his son and pleads to him to return. Ben Solo's relationship with his father is a key in understanding his true self, for he stated to Han,
Well, that's really unfortunate because you think it would be really key in that sense if we got to see his relationship with his father. But we don't. The first time we get to see Kylo Ren interact with Han Solo, in fact, the only time we get to see Kylo Ren interact with Han Solo is when he murders him. Too bad we get to see that.
that he was once weak and foolish like his father, so he destroyed him. Even in that scene,
Let's see, Alex Halo. No, where is it? Alex Halo, I'm lost. What's this video about again? It's about Love and Bridges, the story of Ben Solo. That's what it's about. So so far we had Wooms and Sigmund Freud, and a really strong defense of stuff that wasn't in the movie. But I guess as a story of Kylo altogether. So I guess we'll see the deeper meaning behind Ben Solo, behind Kylo Ren, the damaged anti-villain, I guess you could say.
Kylo struggles with his master's order to kill his father. He even hands his lightsaber over to his father, symbolically himself. Yet when
Okay, if she's gonna call a lightsaber his Kylo Ren's penis, I'm gonna. I think we've gone too far. Now and then Kylo Ren is using his penis to penetrate his father. That's I think we're going a little too far. Hopefully, it doesn't go there. But he's talking about Bridges and Sigmund Freud, and Sigmund Freud loves the Oedipus complex. So I wouldn't be surprised. So let's see here. Angel of the Sword, thanks for the L99. Appreciate that. Watch Darth Caedus by Star Wars Theory, inspiring. Star Wars, I always kind of like Star Wars Theory. I heard he's been kind of going off the deep end, but I'll be sure to check that out. That'd be interesting.
darkness eclipses the sun, Kylo takes the saber and slays him through the heart. No doubt in hopes to slay the heart of his father within him. This deed, as Snoke described, split him.
Wait, what? Hoping to slay the heart of his father within himself? I thought that was just to disconnect himself from his previous life. He's to kill your father, become stronger in the Force by doing so. KH much of the fight. The philosophy is much better fitted to Death Stranding story. I would bet so, because Death Stranding is all about that stuff. Like it's in the story. You have wombs and babies and stuff in the story of Death Stranding. Here you kind of have to bring it in externally. You can bring it in from the outside and connect it from the outside. It's like we always kind of notice and kind of say all these defenders of the Disney Star Wars trilogy, they have to bring in external stuff and tie it into metaphors and the meta narrative. So instead of pointing to a place where the movie is telling us specifically or alluding to specifically that it's all about wombs and Sigmund Freud and babies and stuff, they have to go and kind of mix it together and try to bring in outside sources and kind of try to connect these outside sources to scenes inside the movie that remotely maybe might connect with it in some strange way. But because the movies were bland and horribly done and don't really do all that much, it's never clear. It's never even remotely clear. It's never even like hinted at these were the themes or these were the intentions. It's always done in a manner of many places removed. So this small thing could mean this, which could mean this, which could mean this, which could mean this. So now we're talking about bridges, and bridges are somehow, in this argument, supposed to be essential and crucial to the character of Ben Solo, even though he doesn't really have much of one unless you consider angst an entire character. And it's definitely Bridges being the essence of his being, and not Bridges being a really cool place to have a duel. Definitely not that, chat. Hex Harper, thank you much for the 5. Was Rey like my mom or a clone? Was this all in my mind? What's an Eva? Some kind of Freudian thing? That's what we wish we think of. It is now, apparently. It is now. Oh, I really hope we get into the finger sex. I think we get to the good stuff, chat. I think we're getting to the good stuff. So, we'll see what happens. I think we might be getting to the good stuff here. Now that you mentioned finger sex, she brought in Freud. So, brought in Freud and Bridges and all kinds of stuff and wombs. So, when you do that, finger sex isn't too far behind. I can't say nothing for 999. Appreciate that. How many times do I have to? How I got to hear the word womb today? Oh, quite a few. I'm pretty sure. Quite a few.
To the bone. The bridge stays intact. The father's relationship and significance to the son stays intact. Yet the act plunges Ben into a deeper confidence with the dark, perhaps to allude to the deeper layers of Dante's Inferno. The closer you
Wait. Wait. What? Hold on. Might have some. Oh, let me take it off screen a second so we could get the internet gas going. Dante's Inferno. Hold on, chat. Hold on. Let's go over this again so we can get the full context. Okay. Here we go.
described split him to the bone. The bridge stays intact. The father's relationship and significance to the son stays intact. Yet the act plunges Ben into a deeper confidence with the dark, perhaps to allude to the deeper layers of Dante's Inferno. The closer
Okay, explain this. Oh, you're gonna have to explain this. Hold on.
you get to Satan, the darker and colder it gets. But at the top,
What? Well, yeah, it's true. I mean, at the bottom, Satan, Lucifer, is trapped by ice. But okay, oh, hold on, chat. Hold on, chat. let's go over this one point at a time. I just wanted to let it run so I could see the whole point that you're trying to make. So let's do this again. One more time. One more time. Okay, so we're going to come back with Han Solo, with a Ben Solo stabbing his father with his manhood, penetrating his dad with his manhood. Very Freudian. Very Freudian. Okay, let's do this again.
no doubt, in hopes to slay the heart of his father within him. This deed, as Snoke described, split him to the bone. The bridge stays intact. The father's relationship and significance.
I split him to the bone, first of all, because he's not really at the dark side yet. He was getting there. So we get to see that he's conflicted, which makes him a more complex character than Rey right off the bat. A more interesting character than Rey right off the bat. But so he's going to the bridge. The bridge, meaning that the father and son relationship is staying connected and intact. Okay, well, hold on. Let's take this little bit by little bit. Criminal Imagination, thank you very much for the vibe. Appreciate that. Star Wars lore is so deep, from Arthurian legend to Dante's Inferno. What's next? Links to Cutie Honey to Cutie Honey. I have no idea. I have no idea. Let's see what she has to say though. Let's see what she has to say. It sounds like it could be end up being interesting, chat.
This deed, as Snoke described, split him to the bone. The bridge stays intact. The father's relationship and significance to the son stays intact. Yet the act plunges Ben into a deeper confidence with the dark, perhaps to allude to the deeper layers of Dante's Inferno. The closer you get to Satan, the darker and colder it gets. But
So it stays intact, but it alludes to Dante's Inferno because it makes him more comfortable with the darkness, and the closer you get to Satan, the colder it gets. That's right after one another. What that means nothing. This means nothing, chat. that was just junk that sounds good, but it means nothing. Okay, Dante's Inferno is not about Dante getting closer to the darkness. It's not Dante getting embracing evil. Okay, it's the exact opposite. Have you never read? Have you never even heard? Did you just hear about Dante's Inferno? You never actually read the thing. It's the exact opposite of getting more comfortable with the dark. Hold on, chat. So I'm having trouble believing what I just heard. So let me one more time, chat. Maybe I misheard something because what I heard was Okay, we're back up, chat. We're back up. Oh no. Oh no. That's awful. That's awful. Internet went down and everyone left. Oh, pay a lot of money for internet. You think you would stay up long enough, don't you? Oh no. Oh no. That's just disappointing. That's just disappointing. That's just awful. Well, I mean, I guess we could close it out here if you want to, chat, or we could keep going if you want to. Let's see here. I think it was around. We had the video around here. I guess the cringe was too hard. It just broke my internet. I guess the cringe was just way too hard. It just broke my internet and it just broke it like a twig over its knee. Let's see here. Make sure I didn't miss anything. Let's see. Okay. Let's get this back up and running. And here we go. I think we're about here. And see, Punish Berserker, thank you much for the 2. Appreciate that. Look at the bright side. Now you have 69 viewers. Always look on the bright side. Always look on the bright side of live chat. Okay, so let's see how it goes. This is how this will go.
Act. The father's relationship and significance to the son stays intact. Yet the act plunges Ben into a deeper confidence with the dark, perhaps to allude to the deeper layers of Dante's Inferno. The closer you get to Satan, the darker and colder it gets. But at the top of that bridge, the Force said.
Okay, so that's what I was. That's what the part that was so cringy. This broke my internet apparently. But it's the dark. So she's saying that this scene where he kills Han Solo is a reference to Dante's Inferno because he gets closer to Satan. He gets closer to darkness. Let's make sure we got it. One more time, chat. One more time. We'll get through this. We'll get through this together. And here we go.
Slay the heart of his father within him. This deed, as Snoke described, split him to the bone. The bridge stays intact. Father's relationship and significance to the son stays intact.
It stays intact. Okay, because the bridge, okay, it stays intact.
Yet the act plunges Ben into a deeper confidence with the dark. Perhaps.
So he kills his father Han Solo, and because the bridge is still there, the relationship stays intact. But he kills him so that he can kill the heart within him, but the relationship stays intact because the bridge stays intact. But the act also allows Kylo Ren to get back closer to the dark side, which is apparently, since the act itself it brought him closer to the dark side, it's a reference to Dante's Inferno because
to allude to the deeper layers of Dante's Inferno. The closer you get to Satan, the darker and colder it gets.
No, that's it's not. It's really more like Nietzsche, if anything. No, he who fights villains and becoming a monster. He who fights monsters should be careful not to be he himself become a monster. Look into the abyss looks back into you. It's more Nietzschean than Dante. Dante's Inferno was more like Dante having a crisis, a midlife crisis of life, and he could be going to hell. Okay, so you had he went to hell. He had to walk through hell, guided by his best friend Virgil, or not his best friend, but his favorite poet Virgil. And they go through hell. He's going through all of this stuff. So because he lost his path, he lost his way during his life, and that is where we are. It's the opposite. Not going deeper into hell. Not a Dante becoming more evil as he becomes more comfortable during his walk through hell. It's not a tour guide. Okay, he's not trying to buy a house there. And Virgil is not a real estate agent or something. It's the exact opposite. Here is hell, here is purgatory, here is paradise. What you might be condemned to, where you'll go, and what you'll be missing if you continue on your unenlightened path. So I think there's an instance of the video creator bringing in a classical work to make their point sound more substantial than it is. Okay, it's more like Nietzsche. Okay, if you're going to do that, bring in Nietzsche, not Dante's Inferno. I think Dante's Inferno was more it's more visually stimulating because it's a trip down to hell. That's what you always hear with Dante's Inferno. That Dante goes down to hell. That's what Kylo Ren is doing. But no, it's really more Nietzschean than Dante. The Hicks Harper thing, which are the two. Circle 9 is for traitors after all, like Rian Johnson. Exactly. So Rian Johnson, I hope you're gonna have a good time being chewed on by the devil for the rest of your life.
But at the top of that bridge, the Force sent hope, a call to the light once more. His dyad was the beacon, calling the way to his ascension from the pit. Kylo chased that light into a wintry forest, dueled, and then
Wow, that's really reading into things. So they arrive, and that's the dyad being the beacon to salvation because they had light behind them. Okay, so he goes, and after this he kills a lot of people. Like, and in The Last Jedi, he goes ahead and tries to kill Leia, his mother. And it's just something that happens. Okay, he wanted to do that. So that Rey and the light behind her was supposed to be signifying his salvation, I guess, or something. That's really reading into things a lot. I guess he had to set it up with the bridges first, because otherwise that would be a little more, even more nonsensical. But you're taking in the bridges, you get like he just connected him with a bunch of bridges. What other bridges was he on? He was on the bridge once. He was on the bridge once there, and then once there was a sort of bridge. It was really more like a dam, but it was like a bridge in Rise of Skywalker. And then, and The Last Jedi, what kind of bridge was he on? I can't remember that movie. I don't think he was on a bridge, was he? I mean, that's why you had to bring in the comics. Okay, that's why I had to bring in the comics to prove your bridge theory and your bagel theory. I see a Punished Berserker. Thank you much for the 10. Appreciate that. She'll dig to the molten core to come up with this tripe, but I bet money this thought would look at Berserk and say this book is only about blood and guts and rape. Maybe this is really stretching it though. But thank you, Berserker. Appreciate that. Punished Berserker. Appreciate that. This is really stretching it. I mean, really stretching stuff. Dante's Inferno and Sigmund Freud and all this. No, I don't think so. I don't think so.
pleaded with her to let him be her teacher. He so longed for connection, for affirmation.
Affirmation, connection. Well, how come every single one of these Reylos is all about Rey being the nurturing mother sort of to Kylo Ren? It's a little creepy. It's because every time it's Reylo, it's always she's the one that's going to absorb his hurt and his pain. She's the one that he's looking for as a mother figure or something, and she's the one going to absorb his pain, to take care of him. And it's weird. It's really weird because they really do the balance between, like, they really kind of walk the rope between Rey being his lover and Rey being his surrogate mother. It's really strange, and it's all the time they do it as both. It's talk about Freudian. I mean, Freud has much more to do with the Reylo fandom than it ever does having to do with Ben Solo. Let's see here. Booms and finger sex. We haven't gone to the finger sex yet, but I have a feeling it is on its way. I have a feeling it's on its way, chat. Okay, so he's calling out. He's desperate for connection because he offers to be her teacher. That's not salvation, though. He's not looking for salvation through her. It's not salvation. He's trying to corrupt her. And you don't corrupt your salvation. Doesn't work that way. And so he wants to teach her, maybe because he sees that she is powerful. After all, by this time, she had overpowered him in the duel of the mind. So when he tried to probe her mind, she turned it on him and took all the information from his brain, apparently. Turned it on him. So obviously he can feel that she's strong in the force and that she is very, very powerful. So it is the natural trajectory of the Sith to gain an apprentice, train that apprentice, and then betray your master with that apprentice. Okay. He's just following the step-by-step role a Sith should do. And that's about it. That's how it goes. Not because he's yearning for connection. He wants a teacher so he can get his own apprentice so he can overthrow Snoke. That's how the Sith is. The way the Sith goes. It's the way Darth Vader went. It's the way Sidious went. They always get their own apprentice, and they try to betray their master because it's rule of two: one master to hold the power, and an apprentice to covet that power. Otherwise, everything goes insane. I say the author. Can we all just agree that the Onyx Colony song "Star Wars" is more accurate to the franchise than the Disney trilogy? I believe so. I'll agree with that. Absolutely. Absolutely.
And in this scavenger, he started to feel the warmth of the light once again. The Force split them apart.
I thought they always had this music in the background. They always had this like really touching, this romantic music in the background. This little guitar, it's slow and somber, brings you in, it manipulates your feelings and your passions. And then they sprout nonsense over it, so it sounds more real. Like Dante's, I guess Dante's Inferno because he embraces evil. That's not what Dante's Inferno is about, but okay.
Knowing that the bridge that connected them must be separated until the two could become one in intimacy of mind and spirit. Before that split.
So the third bridge, the wound, she gave him the scar on this bridge. The Force divided them. What bridge? There was no bridge here. This was a solid chunk of Earth. Okay, there's no. Now this is really reading into things, and I barely remember this movie, but I remember this part. This was a solid chunk of Earth or planet, Sarkilla base, whatever they're fighting on. Okay, and then she was such a Mary Sue that she was about to kill him, and they need to add in a Deus Ex Machina to separate them, so that she wouldn't, so that he would survive to the next movie. That's not a bridge, okay? A wide chasm with a burning pit is not itself a bridge. What would be a bridge would be, a bridge, not a chasm. Two different things. So she gave him a scar on this bridge, and she didn't give him a scar on any bridge. Okay, she fought him in the snow, and then the Deus Ex Machina came in to separate them. There was no bridge involved.
She wounded him, slicing his face open with a quick flick of her saber. It was a wound of rejection, but also a surgical wound.
I always like how it's always Kylo Ren going after Rey, and then it's always Rey having to either sustain his madness and take his burden upon herself, like a nurturing mother would, and either that or it's always about her rejecting him in some way, and that he's angry with that. He can't. He's just struggling with his own desires and things. I'm pretty sure the movie is not that deep. I'm pretty sure it's more of a conflict, a surface level conflict between his own personal feelings that remain good and pure, and him trying to become Darth Vader, the next Darth Vader, who was the ultimate Sith Lord. I'm pretty sure it's more along the lines of that because you could actually see that those are his goals in the movie. You don't see any of this stuff in the movie, but you can see him wanting to become Darth Vader in the movie, which was which throws him into conflict because he wants to be good. Sometimes he still has these feelings, a connection towards good, but he wants to be the next Darth Vader Sith Lord, and so he follows basically he's emotionally still trying to be good, but his ambitions are leading him elsewhere. His ambitions to be Darth Vader, which ambition is passion, and ambition taken too far is temptation to the dark side. So maybe it's all the stuff you're talking about. Maybe it's the surface level stuff that's actually in the movie that's understandably and canonically connected to people being driven to the dark side. Maybe it's that. Who knows? Let's see here. Criminal Imagination, thank you much for the 5. Appreciate that. Bridges are the bridge of the themes of your heart. Ironic. If only Marla was here to GDLEB that. Good lib. I think you were referring to Mooper. Got to be referring to Mooper on that one.
Opening the invisible mask he wore to hide the broken boy inside. The Force connected them, forcing them to talk. As they grew together, Rey repeated to him the same words of comfort uttered by Ty and by his father.
Well, that's not exactly true. The Force, they were connected by the Force, but Snoke was the operator on that one. He was the one who connected. He was the one who connected them. Okay, he was the one who connected them, not the Force. The Force is not this sentient entity. It's not supposed to be. But canonically speaking, it was Snoke who connected them, not the Force. So it wasn't this touchy-feely stuff, this theme that you're trying to push, cutting them together. Yeah, they maintained it the Rise of Skywalker. That's because they really have a plan. It is kind of stayed on. I guess maybe they learned how to maintain it. But it was Snoke who connected them. It was Snoke who made them able to use Force Skype with no real consequence. Matthew J. Mimnall, thank you much for the 2. A bagel is a bridge that connects to itself. The bagel theory. That's right. It's written on bagel theory. Of course it was, chat. Adam Friended, welcome to chat. Welcome to chat, Adam Friended. I was born on the dark side. I think we all were, because what I've heard is that if you hate Rey, if you think Rey's a Mary Sue, you're evil and a bad person and some sort of istaphobe. And of course, obviously, born on the wrong side of the Force. Let's see here. Dr. Crow? Okay, I'll back Dr. Alpha. Just make it stop, you monster. I appreciate that.
Ben was not alone, and it wasn't too late. Yet he hid in shame and further in the darkness until he came to the final bridge, that final confrontation where that hope and promise came to fruition.
Wait, hold on. Did he hide in shame? When did he hide in shame? I think he usually hides in anger and frustration. He doesn't really hide. He just gets angry and frustrated. Not really hiding in anywhere. Okay, I guess I'll take your word for it, because I don't remember him hiding in shame. Okay, he's not like a Darth Helmet when he's playing with his little toys and the guy walks in and says he wasn't watching him play with his little toys again. It wasn't that kind of shame. It was more like frustration that he can't achieve the goals he's trying to achieve because Rey wins for whatever reason.
She wounded him once again in his side, but then knelt before him and poured her life force into him, healing him of the fresh wounds and old scars. As Joseph Campbell...
Yeah, so Kylo Ren was distracted. I like it. This is the picture they show. I like how Kylo Ren was distracted because his mother died. And then Rey saw that he was distracted and decided to stab him in the stomach. This is his salvation, everyone. This is his salvation. Your salvation will stab you in the stomach. That's the lesson we can take out from here. No, she's not curing old wounds. She's curing fresh wounds. And that kind of gets him thinking a little bit, because she sacrificed for him, which is something that Luke didn't do, because they ruined Luke Skywalker by making him this weird old hermit who wants to murder people in their sleep. And so, yeah, she heals his wound because she has magical force healing abilities now. Okay, now she's bringing Joseph Campbell. Perfect. They have not done the finger sex thing yet, which I'm surprised at. But now it's time for the inevitable Joseph Campbell cameo. So let's continue and see what happens.
Campbell said, "The wound can be healed only by the weapon that delivered the wound. The wound is the wound of my passion and agony of love for this creature. And the only one who can heal me is the one who delivered the blow." On this path of discovery, Ben Solo was on the path to love. The path to know that his family did love him.
It is you. It is you are Ben Solo. You are our son. You are loved. Okay, so maybe he was, because obviously he was looking for something, but it didn't show this part in the movie, which is why we have to see this in the comic book. However, that meant that Joseph Campbell quote kind of meant nothing here, because you have to really look into it. You have to really see. You have to really trust that he's looking for love or identity or something. But because unlike Rey, we know what he wants. We know that he wants to become this dark Sith Lord. He wants to become the next Darth Vader. It's only conjecture that he wants love. And that little poetic stuff from Joseph Campbell, it's the wound can only be healed by the weapon that caused the wound, and only the one who delivered the wound could heal me. Kylo Ren receives a lot of wounds, so it kind of contradicts what you just said. So he says old wounds. Okay, Rey heals old wounds as well as fresh wounds when she heals them. That's the point that was made. However, if you take in the Joseph Campbell quote and you use it as literally as they did, right? She heals old wounds. She can't heal old wounds because unless she calls those old wounds, then she didn't heal them, did she? And those old wounds are supposedly, because this follows right after that, old wounds are the scars on his heart, apparently, the ones caused by his parents and Luke Skywalker because he felt unloved or something. Poor Kylo Ren. Poor baby genocide person. What a pitiful person. Just you commit genocide every day, but you don't feel loved. Okay, I guess it's all forgiven. Sure. Okay. But yeah, she didn't heal old wounds because she needs to be the person who delivered them, according to that Joseph Campbell quote, and she needed to use the weapon that dealt the blow. Okay. So unless she was the cause for all of his falling and going to the dark side, she didn't really cure very much, except for the part where she stabs him in the stomach. That she cured. That I will give you. Let's see here. Alex Halo, thank you very much for the 2. She is not a Mary Sue. She is a Mary Sue, LD. Oh, right. Yeah. She was a Mary Sue. It's all about bridges, though. So this whole bridge concept is really, really reading into things. It's kind of forced into here because bridges are really cool to have duels, and that's where they usually have their duels on. Okay, it's not that big of a deal.
The path to find his other half. The path to accept himself as he was. As Ty compelled him, "Be the man I know you are." The chasm created on Starkiller Base was fused together as one on the ruins of the Death Star. But Ben had more than one love in his life. He also had to heal the wound of his heart, the wound that his father gave him. Every boy, in his journey to become a man, takes an arrow in the center of his heart, in the place of his strength. Because the wound is rarely discussed and even more rarely healed, every man carries a wound, and the wound is nearly always given by his father. Finding the father is a major step in healing the hero in the monomyth. Because truly, finding the father is to forgive the father and to make peace with him.
Well, that part is true. Facing the father, it can take several forms. For example, Luke Skywalker literally fought his father in his journey. But all this other stuff, you notice how it's not in the movie? That's because it's not in the movie. These are sketches and comic books. It was not in the movie. So you really have to read into this stuff in order to understand, I guess, Ben Solo and his. It would be a lot better if all of this stuff were true and in the movie, but it's not in the movie. So you have to go to comic books, and this part in particular, they're kind of just reading into things. We don't know how Kylo Ren felt about his father. We don't know how Kylo Ren felt about Han Solo. We don't know how Han Solo felt about Kylo Ren. We know that Leia and Han Solo are separated. We don't know if that's because of Kylo Ren leaving. We don't know if that's for other reasons outside of that. Maybe Kylo Ren went to Luke Skywalker because his parents split up. We don't know. We don't know because it's not explored in any easily accessible media. By that I mean the movie. Okay, if it's not in the movie, then that means I'm going to have to go to some tertiary or secondary source to find out what's going on here. So, as far as I know, as a person who just watched the movie, I don't know the relationship between Han Solo and Kylo Ren. It could have been good, which is why Han Solo thought he could save his son, even in that as far as he fell. And that's why it could have been a good relationship because, well, Kylo Ren could have. They said that he was conflicted when he killed Ben Solo. I mean, when he killed Han Solo. So there you have it. We don't know. We don't know the relationship. So was he wounded? Did Han Solo give him the wound? Does he have to face? What exactly does he have to face his father for? Was he trying to live up to his expectations? Was he trying to overcome his insecurities about why because of how great his father is? Trying to get out of the shadow of his father. Or was he trying to do what Luke Skywalker did? Was trying to fight his father, try to kill him and overcome him in order to prove that he's the better man. There's so many different ways this face the father, fight the father can manifest. And it's essential in the journey, yes, but we don't know the context of this because we don't see the relationship between Kylo Ren and Han Solo. We just see the meet, and then we see Kylo Ren kind of just stab Han Solo to death with his manhood. I mean, his lightsaber. Or we're talking about Freud. It's his manhood. Constantine, thank you much for the 2. I just got here. What did I miss? You must be disappearing for 10 minutes because it's too much cringe, I guess. And everyone leaving, and most people coming back. So let's see here. Let's see. Criminal Imagination, thank you much for the 2. Appreciate that. I swear, not even Raylos watched these movies. I'm pretty sure they didn't. I'm pretty sure all they did was, well, I'm pretty sure they watched these movies, but they didn't watch these movies. They kind of just remained in a state of fog until Kylo Ren came up because he's a damaged bad boy.
On this bridge, Ben Solo finally forgave his father, and most importantly, himself. Many times, absentee fathers leave young boys wondering.
Wait, hold on. He forgave his father for what? What did he get? Just like I got done telling you, done saying. What did he forgive his father for? What exactly? What is the exact sin that Han Solo inflicted on his son? Did he expect too much from him? Was it the abandonment thing? Did he abandon him at all? We don't know if he abandoned him. It could have. It's because he separated from Leia. Doesn't mean he abandoned Kylo Ren. Who knows? They could have been in touch. It could have been in touch at the school. Yeah, there's a point where Luke Skywalker says that, your son might be on the dark side. I feel a lot of darkness in him. And all he said was Han was Han about it. So Han might have been optimistic about it. He might have been, he's my son. He might have been arrogant about it. He's my son. Of course, even if there's something in there, he's some dark side in him. He'll overcome it. He's my son. It's Leia who was concerned, saying, "Okay, you need to train him so that he can become better." Where Han Solo might have been you don't need training. He's good on his own. He's my son. He'll be able to overcome anything that comes at him, just like his old man. So we don't know. We are never told what sin Han Solo committed against his son. It just isn't there. We do, however, know exactly what Kylo Ren did to Han Solo, and that's stab him in the stomach and kill him. And also, he never forgives his father. When that scene, he was looking for forgiveness for himself because he was switching sides. He was going, "What have I done? I've been doing all these terrible things. I should probably switch sides now." And then Han Solo pops up, and the one thing that actually does happen is that Han Solo forgives Kylo Ren, and Kylo Ren kind of forgives himself. But mostly because it was an image of his mind, he just forgives himself for the murder of Han Solo and countless other people. Let's see here.
Am I enough? Am I good enough? And perhaps that is why Ben, like Rey, chased after substitute father figures to answer this question. But he found a cold reply from their lips. He failed. On this bridge, Ben heard that Rey wanted his hand, not Kylo Ren's. Ben heard his father's voice speaking words of encouragement, forgiveness, and restoration.
Okay, this is really good. This really flies in the face of of Rey defenders, because this argument so far is Rey is the absolute good. She's reaching out, trying to be his salvation. She's taking over his. Trying to take on his burdens, his madness. However, when you go to Rey, the people who wanted to defend Rey, and some of these people are Reylos, they dive into Rey as a conflicted being. They say that she's torn between the light and the dark, as if she's not exactly light herself. And they always point to the fact that the Last Jedi, she almost joined Kylo Ren. There's a moment there where she hesitates and that she might join Kylo Ren. They fought together in the Last Jedi, all of that stuff. So, how is Rey this absolute good, this mother slash girlfriend figure for Kylo Ren to absorb all of his burdens and his pain, and be his, as they put it, his salvation, the dyad version of his salvation, and then that conflicts with Rey being towards between the light and the dark. So which is it? Is she just a pure being, which is actually more or less on the correct side? She's trying to be the good guy. She's trying to be the pure being, but she's not his salvation. She's trying to give him salvation. She's trying to save him, but ultimately it fails. She heals him, and then Kylo Ren goes off and thinks, and then he kind of finds his own salvation. And then he goes back and helps Rey, even though it was terribly done.
On this bridge, Ben had no place to go. He took that saber that housed that cracked crystal and baptized it. He
baptized it. He threw it into the water, okay? He didn't baptize it. It was just like saying soil, we mean dirt, or H2O, we mean water. Baptized it. That's a cliff, also. Okay, that's a cliff. It's not a bridge. If it is, it's a broken bridge, okay? So, stop making things sound fancier and twisting things I can physically see that don't fit with your narrative into things that fit with your narrative. I can see it, okay? I have eyes, okay? I can see that this is not a bridge. I can see he did not baptize his lightsaber. I could see that he threw it away into the water. Come on.
approval of his father, not for any good or bad that he did, but because Ben Solo was simply his son, and that was good enough for Ben and good enough.
We don't think it was because Han Solo saw him toss away the lightsaber, which was a symbol of his evil soul, a symbol of Kylo Ren, and then said, "Good job, son. You turned back from the dark side to the good side." I'm pretty sure it was more surface level like that. It's pretty obvious, not any of this other stuff. Okay, and if he baptized that lightsaber, shouldn't he go get it back? Okay, if he went to the lightsaber and he baptized it or whatever, that means it's being absolved of the original sin. That's what baptizing does in the Catholic / Christian religion. It absolves you from original sin. So he baptized the lightsaber. If that was actually the case, what do you think we would see? We would see him dunk the lightsaber into the water. He would retrieve it, and then when he ignited it again, it would be the same lightsaber, except it would be blue instead of red. Now that would be a good argument as to, yes, he baptized his lightsaber when he turned back to the good side, and now his lightsaber has turned back from red back to green or blue, whatever it is. No, not here. He just dunked it. He just threw it out into the ocean. Okay, it's not that complicated. Okay, I gave you an example of how it would look if he had, quote unquote, baptized it as a symbol of him turning from the dark side back to the light side, but it didn't happen. Okay, and that's definitely not a bridge he's standing on. That's what we call a cliff. I see Punished Berserker. Thank you much with 5. Aren't you guys glad we got this instead of a live action depiction of Yuzan Vong War and the rise of Darth Caedus? I know I'm not. Yeah, the Thrawn trilogy, the Kazon Var, or the what was it called? Yeah, the Yuzong Vong. Yeah, those are something different. And we Yuzong Vong, those guys. That's how Chewbacca really died. Was in the fight against those guys. I really like the fact that the reason why Emperor Palpatine had like really ramped up the Imperial military, the Imperial Navy, was because he knew these guys were hanging out on the Outer Rim all along, and he was preparing for them. But because Palpatine is kind of a dick, he didn't tell anybody. Let's see here. Baptize equals discarded. I hope it doesn't. That's a really bad precedent to make, Semantic Dragon. So if he baptized his, I hope they don't baptize babies like that in the Star Wars universe. Baptize babies Spartan style. If they swim back, then they've been absolved of sin. If they don't, well then they're not. Let's see, Andrew Clark, thank you much for the 2. Baptism equals priest yeeting a baby. I want to see that. I think they watched 300 and got confused. Okay, so this is baptism, and yeah, sure. Taking a baby, and if it has any deformities, throwing off a cliff is baptism. Okay. It's not baptism, Kylo Ren. You're not supposed to throw your baby off a cliff. You're supposed to dunk it in water, absolve it of original sin.
Enough for his father. Ben Solo was reborn, the third symbolism Freud mentioned, one of rebirth, a new beginning, a new.
You mean like none of the other ones that really appeared up until now? See, this even in this art depiction is not a bridge; it's a cliff. Yes, new beginning. It starts in water. Water usually, because of the cycle of water, water usually represents new life and as narratively speaking. And yes, he got a new life. He cast off his role as Kylo Ren and brought in a new one. But it's not really Freudian. It's more like typical narrative structure from when a bad guy turns good again. So usually they die, and Kylo Ren does die. But yeah, the symbolism of the water, I guess you could make a strong argument for his new life.
New start, a new spirit. He had no more expectations, only hope of the ray of light that beckoned to the home of their connection. What Ty said was true.
What does that even mean? A ray of light that beckoned to the hope of their connection? What ray of light? Was it a literal ray? Like you mean a Ray is a character? Is she a ray of light because she's a light side now? Okay, I don't know what you meant by that. The ray of light that would bring hope to the eventual connection. I guess what that means is, in layman's terms, is that he threw everything away in the hopes that he could make Ray his waifu. Okay, I think that's so. What in her terms, this is Raylo. It's basically Raylo being reborn, and he cast off his role as Kylo Ren so they could hook up with Ray, essentially. So they could be on the same side.
True. What Ty said is true. Hope never failed. Ben had the ability to turn, and when he did, he found his way into the arms of his other half, the bridge that connected two souls to one. He finally found the strength to be who he was.
But these Raylos really get into this, don't they? They really, really get into this. And they can do all this because there's nothing actually there, because there was no substance between Ray and Kylo Ren. There was no real like a utilized symbolism, maybe except for the water, and it was all surface level stuff. But because it was so surface level, because it was hardly there, it can fill in the gaps with their own things and feel as if they're spot on, feel as if they're catching on to something. But notice they really never they give you a taste from the movie, and then the rest of the argument is stuff that's outside the movie, the meta narrative, the philosophy, the Dante's Infernos, that sort of stuff. So it's never stuff in the movie, really. It's more along the lines of, here's little tidbits, little sections, little split seconds from the movie to validate my my views.
The strength to feel love and be loved in return.
I never got the sense that Kylo Ren was really looking for love. How come Ray looks for identity? I guess Kylo Ren looks for love. It wasn't. I never got the sense that he looked for love. I got the sense that he was looking for power. He was looking for belonging. I guess if you wanted to say Ray was looking for belonging, it's more likely that it was more surface level than what they're saying here. Is that Kylo Ren was not looking for love; he was looking for belonging. Also, he was looking for identity, because that would be mirroring the characters with each other. I think that's more a lot. It's a simpler answer. I think that's more likely the route that they went with. That Kylo Ren and Rey mirrored one another rather than Kylo Ren going off on his own journey of looking for love and Rey looking for identity. I think that's where we're at, chat. I don't know. I might be off about that, but who knows? Who knows? Anyway, chat. I think we're going to go ahead and close it here. Apologize about disappearing. I guess my internet decided to say no. We ran out of internet gas. You're out. Forgot to fill up on you before you started this trek down Nonsense Road. But thank you everyone for joining me. I think we will go ahead and I think a Winger from Wingcrest is going to be joining me tomorrow. I think that'd be a better option of watching the EVS stream tomorrow. So we watch the EVS stream tomorrow. It's not that long actually, because EVS dominates in record time. But I'll have a guest on tomorrow, Wingcast, and it should be interesting to go over it with him. All right. So thank you everyone for joining me. I appreciate everything, everyone in the chat. Thank you very much for being so generous today and being patient. Also, DJM Voices, thank you very much for the 10. I appreciate that. I figured out why Reylos love this. Rey literally became Reylo when Kylo saved her life. So when she felt she has all of the benefits of having a man without having to deal with the man. It's I would be true, except the Star Wars official canon is that the kiss they shared was completely platonic. It was it was you think by watching the movie, right? It was okay. They love each other. They're going to kiss each other, and it's a big groan because they had to validate the Reylo fans. And I groaned in the theater, and then I was really surprised and happy that Kylo Ren died. But then they came out with a canon, a canon like rewrite or a confirmation, and it says that their kiss was not romantic; it was platonic. It was a kiss of gratitude and passion. So Reylo never existed, apparently. If they want to adhere to canon outside of the movie, they want to adhere and bring in the books and the comic books and all the other stuff outside of the movies, then they will also have to accept that Reylo is not canon. That Reylo, the kiss they share in the movie, while it might have excited them in the theater, that outside of the movies, they have confirmed that it was a kiss of passion and gratitude, not one of love. It's platonic. So now they're stuck. They either have to accept only the things that are happening in the movie as canon, or they have to accept things outside of canon, but all that also means accepting that Reylo never happened, that Reylo was dead. Because Reylo, the kiss they shared was not a real kiss of love, it was a kiss of gratitude and passion. I see a Punished Berserker, thank you much for the 5, appreciate that. Be kind to my co-host tomorrow. The boy's kind of slow. I'll see what I can do. All right. Well, thank you everyone for joining me. I appreciate it. And I will see you all next time.